On a beautiful day, somewhere, cheers erupted. Hyun Kong. Hyun, congratulations. You've studied so hard. Now all that's left is the grueling bar exam. This young man is Kong Hyun, our protagonist. His parents approached, a bouquet in hand and smiles on their faces. Congratulations on your graduation. Look how much our son has grown. Come here. Even though you said we didn't need to come. How could you say that? This is your final graduation ceremony. We came just to congratulate you. Let's be by your side just for a little while. Let's have a meal together and buy you whatever you want. Now that you've graduated, you can play your beloved violin again. Hyun flung the bouquet from his hands. I said I didn't need it. I gave it up so long ago. Why are you bringing it up now? What's the point? You don't need to come for the exam either. I'll take care of myself. I'm sick of this laundry detergent smell. My family's scraped by, running a small laundromat. The simple daily meals, the clinging scent of detergent on me, on my parents, it all suffocated me. I studied relentlessly, hoping for a better life, even if it meant being called a loner. The internet was a luxury I couldn't afford. Textbooks were my only companions. I refused to spend my life trapped in this cramped, tiny room. I had to succeed to escape this bleak, exhausting existence. Graduation. Everyone said it was the end, but for me, it was just the beginning. My bright future. Those around him, witnessing his consistent top rankings, sneered at his humble origins. How does he always come out on top? Such a lucky guy, huh? That guy's been famous for his incredible grades since high school. I even heard he had a meeting with a professor or someone coming from such a poor background. He must be desperate, right? Look, it's Kong Hyun. Seems that interview wasn't a joke. At this moment, Hyun received a scholarship from the Jahan Corporation, the leading conglomerate in Korea. Getting in, there was like having your life bloom into prosperity. But the Jahan scholarship wasn't as glamorous as it seemed. To put it bluntly, you became Jahan's dog. But it doesn't matter. Once I'm a part of Jahan, I'll succeed. My life will change quickly. It's a solid stepping stone. After graduating university, I topped the Judicial Research and Training Institute. I became a prosecutor at the Western District Prosecutor's Office, all while handling Jahan's dirty work. I quickly climbed the ranks to chief prosecutor. Instead of upholding the law and protecting justice, I shielded the Jahan Corporation. Having achieved everything, I couldn't help but reflect on it. But the feelings of inadequacy and greed quickly faded. A man spoke to him. Shouldn't you be stepping into politics now? Hyun replied, Excuse me, father-in-law, are you continuing to be involved in politics? His father-in-law said, Jahan will take care of the finances. Your reputation is good right now. This is the perfect opportunity. Hyun hesitated. His father-in-law spoke as if he knew Hyun came from a poor family. A dragon rising from a small pond, he continued. A fitting analogy for those filthy rats, your parents. But in your case, it's more like a mud puddle than a pond. Even though you've done well at Jahan, you still need to enter politics. Then you can make my daughter a princess. A modern-day Pyongyang. And that's when, at just the right moment, you need to emphasize your pitiful, dirty past to garner sympathy. Even faced with such disdain, I had to agree. Because I hated the thought of smelling that laundromat detergent again. Not even in my memories. Time marched relentlessly on. Hyun sat across from the doctor, stammering me. I have pancreatic cancer. The doctor replied, I think you should prepare yourself. It's quite advanced. You might not have noticed it in the early stages, but to let it progress this far. Why did you neglect your health like this? We could have treated it. You should inform your family immediately. Hyun stumbled out, his legs trembling. The station announcement echoed. The train is about to depart. Please board immediately. Hyun felt a wave of despair. Who could he tell that he was dying of cancer? His wealthy, yet emotionally distant wife. His contemptuous father-in-law, who treated him little better than a dog. And Jahan Corporation. They discarded him the moment he was no longer useful. Just then, Hyun's phone rang. As if by a mother's intuition, it was his own mother calling. He answered, bringing the phone to his ear. Her voice, warm and familiar, filled the silence. Is everything all right, son? I'm not calling for money, so don't hang up. Have you eaten? Hyun covered his face, tears welling up. He choked out, I ate well. His mother, sensing the tremor in his voice, asked, Oh dear, your voice sounds strange. Are you okay? Are you still working so hard? Tears streamed down Hyun's face as he stammered, No, mother. Hyun's thoughts turned inward. What have I lived for? He wondered. Yes, even in my past, like them, I had my moments of happiness. Moments that mattered more than money, more than success, more than anything. His mother's worried voice broke through his reverie. Hyun, are you sure you're all right? He replied, Yes, I'm just a little tired. I'll rest soon. Don't worry. At that very moment, a drunk man stumbled beside him and fell onto the train tracks. Without hesitation, Hyun lunged forward, his phone clattering to the ground. "Hey, are you okay?" Hyun shouted. "Open your eyes, you idiot." "Oh no, he's completely out of it. Lean on me." As Hyun struggled to lift the drunk man, the train roared into view. In his final moments, Hyun's thoughts raced. "I should have told Mother about my illness. It would have been better than this, dying in an accident like this. I should have told my father-in-law the truth, that I don't care about his politics. It would have been better to be with someone I loved than to live a life serving others. To live with integrity. On my graduation day, I should have at least taken a picture with my parents. A memento. Why do we always have regrets after it's too late? If I could go back, I would live a life that truly mattered." Right then, he suddenly heard the melody of a symphony. Do people hear music when they die? Faith, faith, the holy fire of God. A white deer appeared, and beneath it, a sheet of music, the smell of detergent, that familiar scent from my childhood. In the cramped space of our laundromat, that acrid smell clung to me every day. Even now, decades later, I still can't forget it. It followed me to my deathbed. But the smell I hated so much as a child, I long for now. If only just once before I die, I could see my parents again, the people who devoted their lives to caring for me. Not then I would have no regrets. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "Hyun, Hyun, wake up. It's time to get up. If you don't hurry, you'll be late for school." Hyun's eyes flew open in astonishment. A moment later, he was ready. "I'm off to school." His mother said, "Oh my, Hyun, it's still early, and you're wearing yesterday's clothes. Are you all right?" Hyun offered a smile. "I'm fine, Mom. I'm going now." After Hyun left, his father said, "Honey, did you feed him something strange?" Hyun's mother asked, puzzled. "Strange? What are you talking about?" His father continued, "Oh, nothing. It's just that he suddenly seems more mature." A week passed since that day. I had returned to the past. I returned from a death filled with regret, longing for the time I had lost. In my final moments, I saw a white deer. Did it bring me here? It's something I can't explain. Regardless, I've been given another chance. I will never waste this precious opportunity. I will change everything. At that moment, the voices of Hyun's classmates rose up. "Wow, you got a perfect score on everything. Hyun, is that really you? You always used to get bad grades." Hyun scratched his head, replying, "I just studied harder." One of his friends ran up to him. "Liar, you definitely cheated." Hyun responded, "If you don't believe me, let's have a quiz off. Compare to the bar exam. These tests are a piece of cake." Just then, a girl threw open the classroom door and yelled, "Hyun, Kong Hyun, the teacher wants to see you. Go to the teacher's office, quickly." He arrived a short while later. A parent, arms crossed, said, "You're Kong Hyun." Hyun replied, "Yes, but..." His teacher, standing beside him, interjected, "Ms. Hygiene, please calm down and have a seat." Hygiene snapped, "Enough. How could a child who always failed suddenly top the entire class? Answer me. You cheated, didn't you? Even if it's true, your parents couldn't afford tutoring. I heard your family runs a laundromat. Just looking at your background, it's impossible." His teacher tried to intervene. "Ms. Hygiene, your words are a bit harsh." Hygiene pointed at the teacher. "Teacher, you know my eldest son enrolled in an international school last year, right? Since then, I've been appointed the president of the Parent-Teacher Association. I've raised a lot of funds for the school, with the sole desire to create a good learning environment for my son. Besides, my son also attends math classes abroad. My son has always been at the top of his class." Hyun's father-in-law sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. "But now, you're covering for another child." Hyun, no longer able to contain his simmering anger, lowered his voice. "Are you sure about what you're saying?" The woman, Hygiene, faltered, momentarily taken aback. "What did you say? What are you talking about?" Hyun pressed on, his words sharp and precise. "According to Article 156 of the Criminal Code, false accusations against an institution or official are punishable by disciplinary action. Regarding your actions and their impact on others, the PDA president's unauthorized fundraising and participation in private math tutoring sessions suggest a failure to uphold the school's educational standards. Furthermore, it appears you're abusing your position as an unpaid volunteer. Are you aware of the late 1980s village bribery case that caused a national uproar?" Hyun continued, his gaze unwavering. "The court issued numerous sentences under Article 129 of the Criminal Code for bribery. I can file a lawsuit if you'd like. I'll ask you again. Do you have any proof that I cheated?" Hygiene, her face flushed with anger, sputtered, "How dare you? Is this how you speak to your elders?" Hyun's teacher intervened, his voice calm but firm. "Hygiene, Hyun is right. Accusing someone without evidence is wrong. If you persist, I'll have to ask you to come to the principal's office. Turning to Hyun, the teacher said gently, Hyun, please go back to class. I'll handle the rest. Hyun bowed his head respectfully. Thank you, sir. Before leaving, he turned back to Hyun, a flicker of defiance in his eyes. Oh, and in the future, consider your words carefully, Madam President. Hyun trembled with rage. You arrogant, poor child. Why are you even here? Hyun walked back to class, his mind racing. That was loud and messy, he thought, but at least I shut her up. He stopped abruptly, his eyes falling on a flyer for the music club. The music club, he mused. He remembered Du mentioning it earlier. He pictured Du holding a similar flyer, saying, Hyun, you should join the music club. Hyun had politely replied, the music club. Sounds cool. Du's face had lit up. You think so, Hyun? You used to play the violin, right? Hyun thought to himself, right? I'm sure I did at some point. Suddenly, music drifted down the hallway, snapping him back to the present. He recognized the melody instantly. The Sacred Fire of God, a melody from the End of Death. God the Savior in my mind. Beethoven's Symphony No. 9, fourth movement, Ode to Joy. There was no mistaking it. He opened the door to the room where the music was coming from and stepped inside, a little flustered. I'm sorry, he stammered. I was drawn in by the music. A voice responded, it's all right. Being drawn in by music means you have a good ear. But more importantly, would you mind introducing yourself? Du was standing nearby. Hyun, you actually came to our club. This is your club. Hyun asked, surprised. Yeah, Du replied. Teacher, this is Hyun, the one I told you about. A woman approached Hyun. Ah, you're the top freshman. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Kong Haijang, the music teacher for years 2 and 3. You came to join the club. Oh no, ma'am. I'm sorry, Hyun replied, a smile still playing on his lips as he addressed the teacher. Is that so? Would you like to take a look around the club? She asked. If you'd like, come on in. Hyun then walked over to where Du was sitting. Du greeted him cheerfully. She said she's going to let us play the violin today. Hyun, you can play too. Hyun sat down at a table. Well, I played a little when I was younger, he admitted. But why? The teacher responded. I thought you were talented. I thought you'd become a brilliant composer. Music isn't just about playing, she continued. It's about feeling it too. A composer's talent. Now, watch my performance, she instructed, and tell me what you think. Du leaned in and whispered to Hyun, she's an amazing violinist. Then, the music began. Hyun's eyes widened in surprise as he listened intently. It was like walking on ice, delicate steps. Then came the allegro. The allegro, a musical term, often describes the fast-paced sections of a piece. The bow moved cautiously across the strings, darting across the fractured ice. Her fingers seemed to dance and revel in the movement. It felt like facing a cold wind. Then, the music shifted again, breaking through the ice, rushing forward. The bow struck the strings with renewed urgency. This was truly amazing. In my past life, I was often exposed to high society, so I was quite familiar with orchestras and violin performances. That's why I can be certain. This person wasn't just a music teacher. After the performance ended, Hyun spoke. The third movement of Vivaldi's Winter from the Four Seasons. Kong Haijang looked surprised. Oh, you know this piece. You know more about classical music than I thought. So, what did you think of my playing? Hyun smiled. A wonderful performance. I've never heard anyone play better. By the way, he added, you have an injury on your right hand, don't you? Haijang looked taken aback. Hyun continued, you might not have noticed, but I saw your fingers tremble slightly when you held the bow. Especially during the more intense passages, it was more apparent. Hyun relaxed his hand, letting his imaginary bow fall. Why do you think that? Haijang asked. Hyun remained silent, thinking to himself, should I explain? But I don't really understand it myself. I just listen to music frequently. I don't have any special talent. Even in my past life, it was the same. But what is it? It's something I see when she plays. The notes seem to live and move before my eyes. Hyun offered a smile. That's it. That's what I felt. Kong Haijang was speechless after hearing his words. Later, after everyone else had left and she was alone, she thought to herself, I'm suddenly reminded of the past, when I first dreamt of becoming a violin virtuoso. But before I could. But what is it? Of course, Hyun has an incredible ear for music and the demeanor of a true music connoisseur. But to be able to perceive my recovering injury just from a short performance. Moreover, the third movement of Vivaldi's Winter from the Four Seasons. It's not as simple as he makes it sound. In such a short time, he even pinpointed the current state of my hand. This isn't something an ordinary person can do. This isn't something an ordinary person can do. It's as if the child is like Paganini, a prodigy of our time. The scene shifts to Hyun, sitting before the television, listening to a news report. The Jahan Corporation, in a risky venture into the semiconductor industry, has reportedly achieved a breakthrough in what was considered the most challenging aspect of the project, the development of the world's first 256 megabytes DRAM chip. This comes at an opportune moment, with South Korea leading the global semiconductor industry. Hyun, absorbing the news, thinks to himself that the Jahan Corporation, I wonder if they'll actually succeed. CEO Sun Yuzin, with his motto, change or die, has even severed ties with all family members within the corporation. A ruthless businessman pursuing success. Hyun reflects, thinking back to all the scandals I handled for the Jahan Corporation in my past life, it's strange to see a company led by someone so incompetent. Oh well, Jihan and I have nothing to do with each other now anyway. Hyun's father, also listening to the news, remarks that Jahan Corporation, they're quite something. Hyun's mother enters, carrying a plate of fruit. Son, she asks, what are your plans for the summer break? Hyun reaches for the fruit, replying, I'll help out at the shop. Summer is a busy time, after all. His mother smiles warmly. I'm so glad you're growing up so strong and responsible, but your sudden change worries me a little. If you're feeling tired, please tell me. How would you feel about visiting your grandfather during the break? For some reason, he said he wanted to see you. Hyun is surprised. Grandfather? Really? He falls into thought. Come to think of it, this would have been about 5 years before he passed away at the age of 70. He died of old age. Back then, I was so focused on studying that I didn't properly attend his funeral, just treating it as a study hall to kill time. What's more, I didn't visit him often when he was alive. I was so thoughtless. His father smiles. That's right, Hyun. Relax, explore the city, and enjoy the food while you're there. Hyun simply smiles, saying nothing. Looking back on my regrets in my past life, he thinks, I promised myself I'd live a meaningful life to make up for everything. Mom, Hyun asks, what does grandfather like to eat? He can't shake his curiosity. But why would he suddenly want to see me? What could it be? He never sought me out like this in my past life. He was resolute, cutting off all ties with Mom. This new life that God has given me. I wonder what will happen. Not long after, Hyun arrives at his destination. Hyun stares at the building, eyes wide with surprise. It looks more like a castle than a house. I knew my maternal grandparents were well off, but I didn't realize it was to this extent. Dongdu Chemicals, Korea's leading chemical company. My grandfather is the founder and chairman. He's a very patriarchal man, so no matter how hard my mother tried, she wasn't allowed to work at Dongdu. She was cruelly cast aside and ostracized after being kicked out of the house for marrying an ordinary man. The company was handed over to my incompetent uncle to manage. Because of that, Dongdu Chemicals, which my grandfather built over decades, was completely swallowed up by foreign companies. For 15 years in my past life, he never sought me out. The only time I saw him was when I was a child. Everything seemed to end after I got a little older. After Hyun rang the doorbell, a voice from inside called out, asking for identification. Hyun, standing outside, replied, it's Kong Hyun. A woman emerged, greeting him warmly. Kong Hyun, such a long journey. Are you all right? Hyun stepped through the doorway, a gift held in his hands. I'm fine, thank you. Mother asked me to bring this for grandfather. The woman accepted the offering. Oh, I'm sure he'll love it. Let me take that. Come in, come in. It's a family gathering today. Everyone's inside. Once inside, an announcement echoed. Chairman Hyun has arrived. Hyun's aunts and uncles, catching sight of him, reacted with surprise. What's he doing here? Hyun's uncle, his gaze stern, demanded, who brought you here? An aunt, arms crossed, chimed in, this isn't wise, mother. You should send him away. Didn't your sister say she didn't need any money when she stormed off? And his family, though she trying to garner father's sympathy. At this, Hyun offered a confident smile. And it's not like that. Mother didn't send me. Grandfather called for me. Hyun's uncle rose to his feet, shouting, what did you say? That's preposterous. How could father possibly call for you? Just then, their grandfather entered the room, confirming Hyun's words. It's true. I called for Hyun. Do you have a problem with that? Immediately, their expressions shifted to feigned politeness. Ah, father, please have a seat. No, father, no problem at all. Then, the grandfather turned to Hyun. Hyun, is your mother well? Hyun smiled. Yes, grandfather. She's doing fine. Hyun's uncle, sweating at the mention of Hyun's mother, quickly changed the subject. Father, there are some matters I'd like to discuss with you. Company business. Actually, in the meantime, Hyun, perhaps you could go upstairs. Your cousins are up there. Observing his uncle's frantic intervention, Hyun thought to himself, he's so eager to interrupt. My presence here is making him that nervous. I suspect there's something else going on here. I smelled deceit. He then turned to his grandfather. Uncle's right. It's been a while, and I'd really like to see my cousins. Would that be all right? Hyun's grandfather nodded. Yes, go ahead. Hyun bowed his head. Thank you, grandfather. I'll go up then. With that, he departed. As he walked, Hyun pondered, playing ignorant is the smart move. I don't need to wade into this mess. This must be the room. He opened the door and stepped inside, a smirk playing on his lips. Hello, cousins. Long time no see. A figure stepped forward, confronting Hyun. Kong Hyun, what are you doing here? Hyun recognized him as Eugene Suk. In his past life, Jin Suk had been arrested for fraud, embezzlement, and misappropriation of funds. He was one of the people who had tarnished the reputation of Dongdu Chemicals. When Jin Suk had been cornered, he'd shamelessly begged Hyun for help. Even then, he'd been utterly unscrupulous. He hadn't changed a bit. The same repulsive personality remained. Back in the present, Jin Suk's voice dripped with anger. Are you deaf? I asked you a question. Why are you here? Here to beg for money for your mother, I suppose. Huh. If I back down now, these people will look down on me and despise me, just like in my past life. Then, Hyun looked directly into his face and said, Eugene Suk. Eugene Suk was taken aback by Hyun's demeanor. Hyun placed a hand on his shoulder. Stop acting so foolish. Infuriated, Eugene Suk grabbed Hyun's shirt. What did you say? What did you just say, you dog? Maybe I should punch you to knock some sense into you, you pathetic, penniless wretch. Hyun stared directly into his eyes, thinking, I suppose he needs a lesson. These types who only know how to rely on their parents' money, just like him. Hyun smoothly dodged the blow. He then kicked Eugene Suk in the stomach, returning the favor. The kick sent a jolt of pain through Eugene Suk, causing him to collapse onto the floor. Hyun then grabbed him by the shirt. Now panicked, Eugene Suk cried out, help me. Someone help. As a prosecutor, Hyun had faced far more daunting challenges. There were things far more terrifying than this. So dealing with a spoiled brat was like taking candy from a baby. Hyun's voice dropped low. Eugene Suk, if you ever behave like this towards me again. No, I don't think it will be this simple. I don't know what I'll do. A while later, everyone was seated at the dining table. Someone presented a dish to Hyun's grandfather, saying, Father, this is the blue crab dish that your youngest son made. Try some. Hyun's grandfather said, is it Hyunja's? He then took a portion of the food. With a satisfied expression, he said, your cooking skills have improved. Hyun's uncle's face darkened upon hearing this. Seeing their expressions, Hyun thought to himself, who would have thought a simple blue crab dish made by my mother could cause such a reaction? They must be worried. After a decade, hearing the name of the rival they eliminated, they must be surprised. With grandfather's personality, he wouldn't let his daughter inherit. But it's interesting that they're so uneasy over a blue crab dish. Then, Hyun's uncle spoke up. Father, now you can retire and relax. You've worked your entire life, building Dongdu Chemicals into what it is today. It's time for you to rest, enjoy your old age, and spend time with your grandchildren. His aunt chimed in, he's right, father. Hyun's grandfather, now furious, slammed his hand on the table. BM look at the production process of Donghwa detergent. An executive who doesn't even know what his own company is producing dares to tell me to retire. BM started to explain, that's not it, father. His father cut him off. Enough. I don't want to hear it. Your whole life, you'll only ever be a salaried employee, a wage worker. BM still tried to explain, Father, please listen to us. He was interrupted again. Enough. I will never hand over the company to a fool like you. Dongdu Chemicals will be handed over to someone competent. This company is my life's work. If I leave it to you, I won't be able to rest in peace even in death. With that, he turned and walked away. Hyun watched him go, thinking, grandfather's stance is so firm. They're too blinded to understand what he's saying. That's why they'll ultimately destroy the company. Just like the saying goes, people can't change. A short while later, his grandfather spoke again. I believe Korea will join the OECD in the future. The world is changing rapidly. Hyun, what do you want to do in the future? Hyun, startled, sat in stunned silence for a moment. After a pause for thought, he replied, I want to make my parents happy. His grandfather looked at him, a smile playing on his lips. A filial child indeed. Do you want to earn a lot of money? Hyun, at the mention of money, fell into contemplation. Money, if I use the knowledge from my past life, earning it wouldn't be difficult. But I don't want to focus so much on wealth as I did before. A bright smile spread across Hyun's face. No, I just want to live a happy life. Earning a lot of money doesn't necessarily guarantee happiness. His grandfather seemed pleased with this answer. You've matured a great deal while away from me. Then his aunt approached. Hyun, I've tidied up a room and arranged your luggage. Would you like to see it? Hyun stood up and replied, thank you, Aunt. Suddenly, his grandfather called him back. Hyun, let's have lunch together today. A friend of mine is always boasting about his granddaughter. I want to. Hyun responded, yes, grandfather, I understand. A short while later, Hyun arrived at a room. He opened the door and froze. It was his mother's room. Mother had a room this beautiful. Now she toils, washing clothes for others without a single complaint. Hyun's attention was drawn to an object near the table. It was a violin, meticulously maintained. Mother played the violin. That's why she was so happy when I started playing. He opened the violin case. A magnificent instrument lay within. Hyun instinctively reached for the violin. Just then, the housekeeper arrived. Hyun, the chairman has your clothes prepared. Would you like to try them on? Hyun reluctantly closed the case. Yes, I'll be right there. Soon, they were in the car. His grandfather addressed the driver, Driver Kim. Do you know Hyun is the top student at his school? So, this time, I can finally boast about my grandson to that old man who's always bragging about his granddaughter. He chuckled, a twinkle in his eye. I feel my spirits lifting already. A little competition between our grandchildren. Driver Kim laughed. The two of you are so alike. His grandfather smiled. I've been waiting for this day. Meanwhile, Hyun thought to himself, I don't recognize this place. And this road, why does it seem so familiar? After a while, Driver Kim stopped the car. We've arrived, Chairman. His grandfather stepped out and walked towards an opulent-looking house. Hyun, upon arrival, was taken aback. That's right, I've been here before. Back then, it was abandoned. But in this era, this place is a masterpiece. A man approached them. Well, Chairman, you. Entering without the owner's permission, are we? Hyun's grandfather laughed. Why bother with such formalities when they're unnecessary? Hyun, recognizing the man, was astonished. The chairman of Jihan Group. He quickly bowed his head. Greetings, sir. I am Kang Hyun. The chairman of Jihan Group clapped Hyun on the shoulder, chuckling. Oh, please, just call me grandfather. Hyun replied, yes, grandfather. They then entered the house. Chairman Sun Jang-won, the founder of Jihan Group, a man who came to Korea during the Korean War, a man of great vision. From a small shop in the heart of Seoul, it rapidly grew into Korea's largest corporation. When I received Chairman Sun Jang-won's scholarship, he had already passed away. I never expected to meet him here. Chairman Sun Jang-won interrupted Hyun's train of thought. So, Chairman, you still intend to focus solely on Dongdu Chemicals. With your business acumen, it would be a pity to limit yourself to the chemical industry. Chairman Yu lifted his teacup and reiterated the point. Chairman Sun Jang-won then picked up his own cup and continued. Shopping malls or the airline industry are also viable options for Korea's robust development in the international market. Suddenly, someone approached. A young girl bowed her head slightly. Hello, she said simply. Chairman Sun Jang-won gestured towards her. You've arrived. Say hello. This is DUI, my friend. Hyun, looking at the girl, had a flicker of recognition. Wait a minute. Chairman Sun's granddaughter. This child is the ice princess, Sun Hyun-ha. Hyun followed the girl inside. This is the reception room, she said. Next, I'll show you my room. Hyun thought to himself, back when I was a student receiving the Jihan scholarship, we rarely met. She was well known, the heiress, the granddaughter with the same temperament and talent as the late chairman's son, a cold and demanding individual. Sun Hyun-ha, now Yoon-ha, brought him back to the present. Come in, she said, leading him into her room. Hyun glanced around the room. Luxurious, with the architectural style of the 90s. Not surprising for a leading conglomerate. Yoon-ha stepped closer. You're the top student from that rural school, right? She asked. I hear it's easy to get that position in the countryside. Not many students. Are you the same? I'm taking a middle school curriculum. Do you think those rustic places can even handle it? Can you even solve this? She thrust a paper at him. Hyun looked at it, thinking that first-year middle school material was hardly appropriate for an 11-year-old. A smirk played on Hyun's lips. Hand me a pen, he said. Time ticked by. Yoon-ha stared at the completed problems, speechless with shock. How is this possible? How could you solve them so quickly? It took me so long to figure them out, and you finished in 10 minutes. Hyun casually twirled the pen between his fingers. The bar exam is a bit more challenging. These are nothing. Besides, Sun Yoon-ha is just a child, and she's not as cold as she seems. Hyun paused, then spoke again, a new thought striking him. But Yoon-ha, do you play the violin? Yoon-ha's head snapped up. Yes, I play quite well, actually. Here, I'll play for you. Watch closely. And with that, the sound of the violin filled the room. This song, that it's like the one my mother plays. Winter for Vivaldi's Four Seasons. A coincidence, nothing more. She plays it better, though. Like a fairy. Snow swirling, sleet falling. A sense of refreshing coolness fills the air, washing away all worries. A piece beyond the skill of an 11-year-old. The melody is slightly off because her fingers are still small. The tempo is perfect, one wrong note, but this isn't the right way to play it. When Yoonha finished, she looked at him expectantly. Well, how was it? Hyun clapped his hands. Wonderful. You played beautifully. Yoonha, basking in the praise, looked immensely pleased. I practiced hard because I didn't want to disappoint my teacher, Hyun continued, a thoughtful expression on his face. But Yoonha, I like this piece too, but why don't you try practicing something else? Yoonha's voice rose slightly. Why? I've never made a mistake, and it feels fine. Even my teacher says I play it well. Hyun fumbled for an explanation. Right. You play it well, but if you keep playing one piece, especially one that doesn't quite suit your physique, it'll lead to bad habits. What can I say to make her understand? Wait a minute, why didn't I think of that? Come to think of it, I told Ms. Kong a few things I didn't really know either. Why did I do that? Yoonha's eyes widened. Wait, do you know how to play the violin? Show me. Come on, hurry up. Hyun stammered, I never said I could play. But Yoonha had already thrust the violin into his hands. As Hyun held the instrument, a strange sensation washed over him. My heart's racing. My memories of playing the violin are hazy now, but it feels like the violin is urging me on. It's as if it's saying, play me. What are you waiting for? I'm right here with you. A moment later, a maid announced, Miss, the teacher is here. The teacher approached and greeted Yoonha. Yoonha grabbed the teacher's hand and pulled her along excitedly. Teacher, hurry, teacher. The teacher, a little bewildered, asked, Yoonha, why are you in such a rush? Yoonha held up a book. I have something I want to ask you. The scene shifted to a different location. Chairman Yu addressed Hyun. Hyun, what did you think of my friend? Hyun replied respectfully. I thought he was a man of vision and deep understanding. Chairman Yu then asked, is that so? And what about me? What do you think of me? Hyun was taken aback by the question. In my past life, he had to watch helplessly as his incompetent children took over the company. Dongdu Chemicals quickly went bankrupt as a result. He hesitated before answering. Grandfather, you are a warm person. Chairman, you seemed momentarily stunned by Hyun's words. Yes, of course. He paused. I thought I heard the sound of a violin just now. Hyun replied, Yoonha plays. She told me. His mind drifted back to the violin. I only played for a short time. Back then, just standing correctly was difficult, let alone reading music. But when I touched the violin just now, my body reacted so naturally. The moment the bow touched the strings, it was like a bird gliding across a sheet of ice. Its wings carefully poised, preparing for a race. A blizzard blew in, and as the land became covered in snow and ice, the melody changed. Soft, like a lullaby. At that moment, even Yoonha was surprised, and her eyes went wide. I don't know exactly what happened, but my body kept moving with the music. Should I play the violin again? Should I? Chairman Yu interrupted Hyun's thoughts. Hyun, do you know what I do for a living? Hyun politely replied, yes, the chemical industry. Jin Suk told me he's the chairman of Dongdu Chemicals. Chairman Yu looked at his grandson and asked, so, what do you think about the chemical industry? Hyun brought a hand to his chin, lost in thought. A difficult question. Dongdu Chemicals, it started as a soap factory. Dot currently produces a diverse range of chemical products like laundry detergent and agricultural stimulants. This sector is still in its infancy compared to its future potential. The industrial chemical sector is on the cusp of a revolution. New technologies in chemistry will become the bedrock of the information technology industry, leading to exponential growth in modern society. Then he added, chemistry. I believe it will be the cornerstone of future industries. Chairman Yu paused, momentarily taken aback by Hyun's insightful observation. A new industry of the future. Just then, the car came to a smooth stop. Driver Kim opened the door for Chairman Yu. Chairman, we've arrived. The chairman stepped out, then turned back to Hyun. Hyun, let's have dinner together sometime. Hyun was surprised. Dinner, sir. He thought to himself. I suppose it'll just be a casual meal. Chairman Yu continued. Chairman's son is hosting a party. There will be other young people around your age there. Hyun froze. Chairman's son is already enough to deal with, he thought, but adding the sons and daughters of other major corporations to the mix. This dinner won't be easy to swallow. Wait a minute. This could be considered a gathering of 3 generations of corporate giants. Isn't that how it is? Back in the 90s, the relationships between these corporations were very close. These individuals shared a common starting point. They all rose from poverty. To protect their interests and power, they forged these intricate relationships. However, as management gradually transitioned to the second generation, gatherings like these became inevitable. Of course, I know this because I worked at Jahan for a long time. How could an ordinary person understand? It's their own world. The real significance of these parties is the subtle introduction of the future heirs of these Chable families. Could he be suggesting I attend this party? If I'm right, is he implying that I could be the heir? The scene shifted to Yoon-ha. She spoke to her instructor with determination. I won't give up easily. Her instructor sighed, looking weary. Imagzosta. Yoon-ha pleaded, just one more time, please. The third movement of Winter from Vivaldi's Four Seasons. She won't stop striving to prove herself. Mastering this piece is her opportunity. She's a diligent student, but so stubborn. This stubbornness, it's truly difficult. She's clearly doing so well already. The instructor then asked, you don't like the way I play it? Yoon-ha replied, that's not it. You truly captured the snow, but the instructor paused, thinking I thought Hyun-ha was an only child. Who is she talking about? The next morning, Hyun was greeted by a servant. Young master, breakfast is ready. Hyun descended to the dining room and addressed Chairman Yu. Good morning, grandfather. Did you sleep well? His grandfather replied, I'm fine. Sit down. Hyun then turned to the young man beside him. It's been a while. The other young man, still shaken from their previous encounter, avoided Hyun's gaze. He hasn't been able to look me in the eyes since that day, Hyun thought. How can he be so brazen, deceiving everyone like that? Just then, Baeong approached with a smile. I made these 3 rib dishes. Please try them. Let me get that for you, the housekeeper offered. Hyun, observing her, thought to himself, what's going on? This is the same woman who never lifted a finger to wash a single dish. Chairman Yu, seemingly unconcerned, simply said, leave it. He then turned to the housekeeper and asked, is there any more of the braised crab? Yes, sir, she replied. Baeong, overhearing this, ground his teeth in frustration. Everyone then began their meal. As they ate, Baeong addressed Chairman Yu. Father, are you planning on bringing anyone to the banquet? Chairman Yu turned to him and asked, why do you want to know? Baeong offered a smile. This banquet will have 3 generations present, but you've never taken me along. Hyun, listening in, recognized the banquet as the one Chairman Yu had mentioned earlier. He was curious to see what Baeong was up to. Baeong continued, my brother's children are still young, and I thought you might consider bringing Jin-suk. Chairman Yu's voice deepened as he asked, do you know what kind of banquet this is? Baeong replied, yes, I do. I wouldn't be so foolish as to not understand. Chairman Yu slammed his hand on the table in anger. Knowing that, you still want me to bring Jin-suk. Baeong quickly explained, Father, I meant that this is a good opportunity, and it would be a waste not to attend. Chairman Yu retorted angrily, so now you're trying to force me to choose the boy. Incompetent, greedy, and useless, Chairman Yu muttered, glancing at Hyun and recalling his earlier words. They echoed sentiments his own daughter, Yoon-ha, had expressed. He then continued, Hyun will accompany me to the banquet. Time continued to pass. Hyun sat in the car, lost in thought. The request for him to wear a suit suggested this was no ordinary banquet. He sensed a deeper meaning behind Chairman Yu's invitation. The car passed a familiar place. It was an old testing center. Memories flooded back. In my past life, he mused, I couldn't even afford to eat, so I often put my studies aside to work day labor. How nostalgic, he thought, when suddenly the car braked sharply. The worried chauffeur turned to him. Are you all right, sir? Hyun replied, yes, but what happened? The chauffeur explained, the car in front stopped suddenly. I'll have to take a detour, so we'll be a little late. Hyun looked at the person in front of the stopped car and thought, a foreigner. It seems the driver doesn't understand English. After a moment, seeing the foreigner's continued struggle, Hyun made a decision. Wait here for me a moment. He approached the foreigner and said, hello, can I help you? The foreigner explained his situation. Hyun then said, you told the driver to take you to the Shilla Hotel, but he misunderstood and took you to Sinrim. The foreigner replied, exactly. I even lost my wallet. It's been one thing after another. But thankfully I met you, kind sir. I'm all right now. Thank you so much. Hyun replied, you're welcome. Are you here in Korea on vacation? The foreigner answered, no, I'm here on business. Hyun thought, surprised, didn't his business partners arrange for someone to pick him up? The foreigner then chuckled and added, however, I wanted to do some sightseeing, so I arrived a week ahead of schedule. Hyun smiled back. It seems you enjoy traveling. The foreigner continued, of course, I could discover many new things, make new friends, and have chance encounters that turn into special relationships. He chuckled. Meeting you is one such case. I am truly delighted. Could this be God's arrangement for us to meet? He sounded almost smitten. After a while, they arrived at the Shilla Hotel. The foreigner stepped out of the car, beaming. Oh, that was quick. Thank you. Thank you for getting me here safely. Hyun replied, you're welcome. It was nothing. I didn't do anything. It was driver Kim who brought us here. The foreigner suggested, I'd like to exchange contact information with you. My business card is in my wallet. I am Samuel Gardner. Young man, if you ever need my help, come find me at the hotel. Hyun took the foreigner's hand and replied, thank you, sir. I wish you a pleasant trip. The scene shifted to Chairman Yu. He asked driver Kim, he speaks English. Driver Kim replied, yes, sir. And I don't think it's the level of an elementary school student. He communicated fluently and naturally. Chairman Yu paused, lost in thought. All right, you can leave. After driver Kim left, Chairman Yu mused, I've dedicated my life to creating Dongdu chemicals. It's my life's pride. I thought it natural for my eldest son, Baeong, to inherit it. But since Hyunjae's birth, that smart and diligent child, my thoughts have wavered. However, societal biases have made me hesitate and consider my other children. I wonder if I'll regret choosing Hyunjae. Chairman Yu recalled Hyunjae's words. Do you want your parents to be happy? Do you want to live a life where you feel joyful? Wealth doesn't necessarily bring happiness. You think chemistry is a material of the future. He thought, she has become a wonderful mother. I miss you, Hyunjae. The next day, Chairman Yu addressed Hyunjae. Do you remember we're having dinner together today? Hyunjae replied, I remember, sir. He then reflected, today is the day of the three-generation conglomerate banquet. A banquet not as simple as it appears, but a place where they publicly announce the next heir. A gathering of wild beasts. And I can't believe I'm stepping into that circle. Chairman Yu's next words startled him. And you'll come to the company with me before the banquet. Hyunjae asked, surprised, sir? Chairman Yu smiled. Why? Why are you so surprised? Hyunjae, do you remember what you said before? That chemistry will be an important material in the future. I was so surprised that you were interested in chemistry. If I had known, I would have brought you to the company for a visit long ago. Hyunjae was astonished that he still remembered. It seemed he liked that answer. The scene shifted to the company. Hyunjae, what do you think? Hyunjae looked out with fascination. It's huge and looks really cool. Chairman Yu said, is that so? I'm glad I brought you here. Hyunjae thought to himself, this isn't a lie. Dongdu's factory alone is bigger than other companies. By the way, this is the factory that produces parts and materials. The parts and electronics materials factory that my grandfather built based on his predictions for the future. It was a brilliant choice preparing for what was to come. But after he passed away, I heard that my uncle sold everything. He arrived a little while later. So many people came out to greet Chairman Yu. Hello, sir. Chairman now. Baeong, seeing Hyun, was taken aback. The expression on his face, however, was far from welcoming. Is he sizing me up? Ha, ridiculous. Chairman Yu approached and addressed Baeong, CEO Baeong. What do you think the future holds for the chemical industry? Baeong stammered, I think we should focus on high-value sectors or those similar to what we're currently doing. We could also build some new plants. New materials would be a sound investment as well, sir. Chairman Yu pressed, and what do you think we should do to increase the value of the chemical industry itself? Baeong replied, I believe we should recruit more talented individuals. Hyun, overhearing, was astonished. Find talented people. Is that really the answer of a CEO? Unlike other, more traditional industries, where you can constantly release new products and build new factories, chemistry is the fundamental basis for future industries. To put it simply, nurturing talent is paramount. But judging by what my uncle just said, he doesn't understand the first thing about the chemical industry. Chairman Yu then said coldly, is that so? Disappointing. Come along, Hyun. Hyun replied, yes, sir. Hyun walked away but glanced back at his uncle, thinking, serves you right. However, the manager, standing next to his uncle, looked vaguely familiar. As they walked, Chairman Yu asked his grandson, Hyun, what do you think management is? Hyun guessed that he was worried about Baeyong's unreliability. Hyun then confidently stated, making sure everyone is well-fed and healthy. Isn't that what a manager should do? There's a saying, more is better than less. I think it holds true. Chairman Yu, hearing this, was slightly surprised. He then affectionately patted Hyun's head. It would be wonderful if you were older. How can you always say such insightful things? Hyun didn't harbor the same ambitions he once had. A life dominated by money and power. However, if he could change the future with his words, could he help his grandfather? There's only one thing I want to change. A little while later, they arrived at a room. Hyun stepped inside, a bright expression on his face. This room is amazing. Chairman Yu chuckled. Is it? Yes. He walked further in, then suddenly stopped. Hyun saw a framed photograph on the table. This photo, it seems like you miss Mother a lot. Chairman Yu suddenly called out to him. Hyun, have you ever seen a record player? Hyun hurried over to Chairman Yu. No, sir. This is the first time I've ever seen one. Can you play a record? His grandfather agreed. Of course. Just a moment. This is a record I used to listen to. He then placed the record on the player. Music began to fill the room. Hyun seemed to recognize the piece as well. Beethoven's Spring Sonata, the first movement. The clear, sweet notes hung in the air, bringing a sense of ease. The bright strings harmonized with the melody of the violin. A truly moving piece. It was as if I could see flower petals drifting on a gentle spring breeze. However, it wasn't a professional performance. There was a subtle difference. Each time the violin's melody strayed from the rhythm, the piano filled the gap. A phenomenon that occurs when there's a significant skill disparity. But the skill was still quite good, so most people wouldn't notice. The record sleeve didn't list the artist or the song title, but it was old and worn. It seemed, Chairman, you had been listening to it for years. Perhaps the performer was... Then Hyun asked Chairman Yu, grandfather, was this piece? Was this played by my mother? Chairman Yu was surprised. How did you know? Hyun replied, I saw mother's picture on the table. Chairman Yu thought to himself, was it the picture of Hyun-jae holding a violin? However, the performance they had just heard had been carefully recorded by Hyun-jae. Even the instructor had praised it highly, and Hyun-jae had been truly happy. Could the boy understand the difference between amateur and professional with just one listen? Then he turned to his collection and said, next, let's listen to this one. Then the music began. It was different. It was a continuous melody, sweet and filled with the fragrance of spring flowers. A superb performance, with no flaws to be found. The performer truly understood the music. It was effortless, following the rhythm of the piano, as if they were whispering sweet nothings to each other passionately until the end of time. Hyun spoke, truly a wonderful violinist. And Chairman Yu continued, is that all? Hyun, a little anxious, asked what else. The performance was perfect to the point where there's nothing else to say. Then Hyun realized something and said, you don't listen to this recording often, do you, grandfather? The pitch is a little low. It might be the humidity. They say the weather has been particularly hot this year. Chairman Yu, hearing Hyun's words, widened his eyes in astonishment. Even I, someone who frequently listens to classical music, didn't notice that at all. Could it be that the boy's sense of pitch is different from ordinary people? At that moment, Hyun's uncle entered. Chairman, Vice Chairman Yu has arrived. Chairman Yu clasped his hands behind his back and said, I know. He turned to Hyun. Do you want to come with me? Hyun's uncle interrupted. Hyun has somewhere to go with me today. He exclaimed, what? Don't tell me. Hyun is really going to the banquet. Chairman Yu asked, so you thought I was joking? Hyun's uncle pleaded, Father, that's not a place just anyone can enter. I'm speaking from Baeyong's perspective. He's the eldest son, but Hyun attending is different. Does she expect the Yu family to welcome her back after she suddenly left? She hasn't contacted us for 15 years, and now she's suddenly interested in the company. Isn't she just using her own son as a tool? Chairman Yu roared in anger. How can a fool like you even answer a simple question correctly? You think you have the right to interfere in company matters. He raged, his words dripping with disdain, directed at the unseen person before him. A fool, arrogant in front of a mere child. Hyun, overhearing everything, thought to himself, he's even more foolish than I imagined. How can he spout such baseless accusations without a second thought? The chairman then turned to the CEO, Baeyong, and said, what brings you here, CEO? Baeyong replied, there's something I wanted to discuss with you, Chairman, regarding the development of chemical materials. The project, I'm in charge of this time. Yes, Chairman Yu interrupted. I understand. Let's walk and talk. Baeyong responded, yes, sir. Then, the chairman turned towards Hyun and said, Hyun, could you wait a moment while I step outside? Can you wait? Hyun smiled and replied, yes, of course, sir. Just as I predicted, Hyun mused. That expression, it's the same as before. Sometime later, both grandfather and grandson were ready and on their way to the banquet. Chairman Yu began, "Did you have a difficult time at the company today?" Hyun chuckled. "Not at all. It was rather entertaining." Chairman Yu, perplexed, asked, "Entertaining? What do you mean?" "You're quite the mischievous child, just as I expected. If other youngsters were half as insightful as you, this old man could rest much easier." Hyun, looking at his grandfather's face, thought to himself, "Grandfather, you've changed so much to say these things to me, someone who isn't even your direct descendant. That recording was from quite some time ago. Do you regret the past?" Then, Chairman Yu addressed the front seat. "BM Jean, you should understand why you're here." BM Jean, sounding slightly apprehensive, replied, "Yes, father. I understand." The chairman continued, "All right, then behave yourself." Hyun, observing BM Jean's expression, thought, "Is he worried? I'm also a bit nervous to be personally attending this legendary gathering, which I've only heard whispers of. In a life where money is so highly valued, I can't even confidently walk through these doors. This world is truly unpredictable." A while later, they arrived inside. Chairman's son, holding a glass, greeted them cheerfully. "Ah, Chairman Yu, you've arrived. And Hyun, you're here too. It's a pleasure to see you." Hyun bowed politely. "It's an honor to see you, sir." Someone nearby also bowed, saying, "You've arrived, sir." Hyun's grandfather smiled and replied, "Yes, thank you for your hard work." Hyun quickly recognized Chairman Sun Yoon. Up close, he looks younger than I remember. I almost didn't recognize him. The atmosphere here is different from the past. It's quite something to see him bowing his head to everyone. Truly a sight I never expected. At that moment, another man approached. "Chairman, you've arrived." Chairman's son replied, "Oh yes, I have." Then, turning to Hyun's grandfather, he said, "Let me introduce you. Chairman Yu, come over here quickly." Hyun was surprised to see the newcomer. The man, upon seeing Hyun, seemed equally taken aback. This was the foreigner Hyun had helped earlier. The man said, "What are you doing here, young man?" Hyun, equally surprised, recognized him. Samuel smiled. "You remember me. You have no idea how much I regretted not getting your contact information." Hyun replied, "Not at all, sir. I only did what I felt was right. I never expected to see you again like this." The two then had a pleasant conversation, in English, of course. Chairman's son turned to Hyun's grandfather, Chairman Yu, and said, "Chairman Yu, you've raised your grandson well. I must say, his pronunciation is even better than my son's, who studied abroad." Chairman Yu remained silent, speechless. I'd heard what Driver Kim had said, he thought, but I never imagined he was this proficient. Then, the foreigner turned to Chairman Sun Yoon and said, "Ah, Chairman Sun, please excuse me. I was simply overjoyed to see the young man who helped me." Chairman Sun replied, "Not at all." Hyun's grandfather then said to him, "Hyun, why don't you go mingle with the other young people while we adults discuss some business?" Hyun agreed and excused himself. Chairman Sun Yoon then looked over at Hyun. "That look, I've seen it before in my past life. It's the look he gets when he covets talent. I'll never work for you again, not like last time. Come to think of it, what does Samuel do? To have a foreigner invited to a banquet gathering 3 generations of Korea's leading conglomerates. He seems to have a good relationship with Chairman Sun Yoon." At that moment, the usher stopped. "We've arrived. You can stay here until dinner." Stepping inside, Hyun's face registered astonishment. This is a party within a party. I suppose they've been observing the adults and learning how to form their own factions. I'm not planning on making friends anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just then, a voice called out, "Appa, I've been looking forward to seeing you again." Hyun politely greeted the young girl. She carries herself like an actress accepting an award. Even if he has more than 10 grandchildren, he brought his granddaughter to a gathering of heirs. Just as I predicted, Chairman's son thinks completely differently from my grandfather. This isn't a fight for inheritance. It's survival of the fittest. This might be the reason the Jahan Group has been able to maintain its top position. I thought my grandfather had changed, but more importantly, why is she staring at me like that? People are watching. Hyun broke the tense silence. "Hyun-ha, is there something you wanted to say to me?" "Yes," Hyun-ha replied. "Teach me how to play the violin." Hyun asked, puzzled, "Huh? Don't you already have a very good teacher?" "Yun about. My teacher is good, but the only person who can truly bring about winter is you." Elsewhere, someone was anxious and trembling. Where am I? And who are all these people? They're all people I've only seen in the newspapers. Earlier, Chairman's son had said to her, "My granddaughter tells me you're quite the pianist, Mississippi Park. Would you mind accompanying us on the piano at our gathering? For what I hear, Your skills are top-notch, so don't feel pressured. What do you think? Back with Mississippi Park, she's incredibly worried. She murmurs to herself, I thought this was just a simple family gathering. What's going on here? A little while later, Hyun couldn't find Hyun-ha. Where did she go? He wondered. Just then, Chairman Yu spotted Hyun and called him over. Hyun was surprised. His grandfather was sitting with Chairman Sun and several others. Hyun felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. Is this okay? He's my grandfather's friend. Then, Chairman Sun asked him, So, have you made many friends? Hyun forced a smile. Yes, sir. It wasn't entirely a lie. He had become close with Hyun-ha. Chairman Yu turned to Hyun and said, Someday, the people here will be useful to you. Be friendly with everyone, but distinguish between those who need you and those you need. Hyun listened, his mind racing. Him telling me this means, not just as I suspected. He sees me as. The MC's voice boomed through the hall, cutting through his thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will now enjoy the opening performance. Chairman Sun beamed. Actually, my granddaughter will be giving a violin performance before the ceremony. As Hyun-ha walked onto the stage, the MC's voice rang out again. Let's give a round of applause for Miss Sun Hyun-ha. Hyun watched her, realizing, so that's why she disappeared. The way she carries herself, the dress, she looks like a performer. Hyun noticed the pianist looked a little pale. He worried silently, is she all right? Is everything ready? The sound of the violin filled the hall. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Isn't that the third movement of Vivaldi's Winter from the Four Seasons? Hyun was stunned by her playing. She's gotten so much better since the last time I heard her. From the way she holds the violin to her technique. It's amazing how far she's come in such a short time. I wonder how much she must have practiced. After a while, the performance ended and the hall erupted in applause. Chairman Yu clapped, a pleased smile on his face. Hyun-ha's skill is truly remarkable, Chairman Sun. It's hard to believe it's just a hobby. Hyun-ha descended from the stage and approached her grandfather. Hyun offered his own praise. You played beautifully. Hyun-ha suddenly offered the violin to Hyun. Your turn. Chairman Sun looked puzzled. What do you mean? Hyun-ha explained, Hyun plays the violin very well. She turned to Hyun, urging him, go on, try it. You like playing the violin too, right? She added with a confident smile. Hyun's hand flew to his chest, his mind reeling. I like playing the violin. I've never even thought about it like that. Chairman, you looked at Hyun with interest. You play the violin, Hyun. Hyun stammered, no, grandfather, not really. I only started learning a few months ago. Hyun-ha interjected, Hyun plays even better than my teacher. Hyun felt beads of sweat forming on his forehead. What is she saying? He thought frantically, I don't have the guts to try and replicate Hyun-ha's performance. Not here. It'll be better if I just pretend I don't know how to play. Less embarrassing that way. But then, Chairman Yu spoke again, his voice firm. Hyun, do whatever you want. Hyun was taken aback by his grandfather's words. He clenched his fists, the weight of the situation settling upon him. This is a gathering of the biggest names in global business. Grandfather brought me here to introduce me. I'm not a professional, so there's no need to feel pressured. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just a song. Hyun picked up the violin and confidently addressed Chairman Yu. I'll give it a try, grandfather. Upstairs, Miss Park's face was pale. Finally, it's over, she thought. So many business tycoons here, people I only ever see on TV. I feel worse than I did during any competition. This is terrifying. I can't wait to go home. At that moment, a man approached Mississippi Park, his teeth bared in a nervous smile. Excuse me, but could you play one more piece? Mississippi Park, already flustered, became even more so. What? The man continued. They said they'd pay you more than you were originally contracted for. Hearing this, Miss Park's eyes lit up. I'd be delighted, but what should I do? Am I playing with Hyun-ha again? Just then, Hyun approached. Good evening. You were the violinist just now, weren't you? I'm Kang Hyun. I'll be playing the violin next. Mississippi Park looked at Hyun, thinking, is this the arrogance of a third-generation chaebol heir? Forget it. All I need to do is support him and collect my paycheck. Hyun spoke again. Take a breath before the first note. Mississippi Park looked bewildered. Take a breath. Hyun explained, when you played the second part of the concerto, you made a small mistake. Right when the melody changed, Mississippi Park thought, oh my goodness, how did he? I thought no one would notice. It was barely a second long. Hyun continued, don't worry. Just remember to take a breath. Everything else is already perfect. Hyun stood on stage. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kang Hyun. My technique is still lacking, but please enjoy my performance. Then he began. Chairman Yu listened. Every day, he listened to his late wife's sonata to soothe his longing. If this small violin can soothe my heart, then Both Hyun and the accompanist signaled their readiness. The spotlight focused on Hyun. Hyun's heart pounded. Even though I denied knowing how to play, it's like the violin is begging me to play it. I have a feeling that this moment, whether intentional or not, will change the rest of my life. The music filled the hall. Everyone was surprised, but no one spoke. Chairman Yu felt transported. The pianist, accompanying Hyun, was also astonished. This isn't the Beethoven sonata I memorized. It's like a completely new song. And this flawless, precise violin performance is leading me along. Hyun continued, lost in his music. The rhythm of spring felt warm through each note. But there's a wistful quality to this melody, like meeting the person you love. But after what felt like an eternity, the spring clock stopped. Hyun's performance ended. Applause erupted. Yoonha's applause rang out, followed by a wave of clapping as the audience recovered from their stunned silence. One by one, they rose to their feet, acknowledging Hyun's performance. Hyun offered a grateful smile. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. His words unexpectedly brought Hyun's grandfather's daughter to mind, and tears welled up, tracing silent paths down his cheeks. I miss my daughter so much, he thought. Chairman's son finally spoke, his voice filled with wonder. That was incredible. Are you sure you've never had violin lessons? Chairman's son embraced Hyun, beaming with pride. See, Hyun is a remarkably talented violinist. Chairman Yu stepped forward and took Hyun's hand. Hyun, he said, thank you. Hyun met his gaze, a silent question forming in his mind. What am I supposed to say in a situation like this? Even in my past life, this kind of situation, perhaps it's best to say nothing at all. Sometime later, as everyone was getting into their cars to leave, Hyun's uncle spoke up. Are you planning on working with Hyun again today, father? Chairman Yu looked at him quizzically. What do you mean by that? Hyun's uncle continued. I noticed Hyun looked very stressed yesterday. At his age, he should be relaxing and enjoying himself at home. Chairman Yu slammed his chopsticks down on the table in frustration. Hyun will be going to Chairman's son's house, so don't concern yourself with it. Both his uncle and grandfather stared at him in astonishment. But father, why would Hyun? Hyun's grandfather stood up. I've already arranged the car. Eat quickly. Go with the driver. Sitting in the car, Hyun's thoughts raced. What is going on? Did Yoonha specifically request that I visit her? After a while, the driver, Kim, stopped the car. We've arrived, young master. Hyun stood before the gates of Chairman's son's house. I always feel a strange sense of pressure whenever I'm here. In the past, whenever Sun Yujin's business ventures were unstable, he always came to this residence. I think I understand why now. The doors opened, and Chairman's son and Yoonha greeted him warmly. Hyun bowed his head. Thank you for inviting me. Chairman's son waved his hand dismissively. Not at all. I should be thanking you. Yoonha has been insistent on learning the violin from you during the break. If Chairman Yu had refused, I would be in quite a predicament right now. Just as Hyun had suspected. Hyun asked, so we'll be having violin lessons together from now on. Chairman's son nodded. Indeed. Hyun thought to himself, the violin. If I could experience that feeling again. Yoonha pulled Hyun inside. Teach me how to do my math homework until the tutor arrives. Time passed steadily. Is it almost time for the tutor to arrive? Yoonha had finished her homework, and it was Hyun's turn to check it. The smudged pencil marks showed where she had repeatedly worked through the same problems until she arrived at the correct answers. Spending over 30 minutes on a single problem. That's incredible focus for an 11-year-old. Where does that kind of concentration come from? Hyun finished checking her work. They're all correct. You did a great job. But aren't these problems really difficult? They seem to be at a level I wouldn't have learned at this age. Yoonha replied, my father told me that everything will fall apart the moment I give up. So I can't let go. I have to keep persevering. Not because eventually they will all be yours. Hyun shivered. The conglomerate-style education was insane. Chairman's son must have said this to his daughter, Yoonha, amidst the fierce inheritance battle between his sons. Hyun turned to the girl and said, Yoonha, you don't need to have everything, especially things you don't need. Hyun looked at the girl, thinking, the era of choice and focus will come. Chairman's son knew that forcing everything wouldn't lead to a good ending for a businessman. Compared to Chairman's son, the current Yu-san still had a long way to go. Suddenly, a voice boomed. No need to have everything, including unnecessary things, huh? So, in Hyun's view, what's the most useless thing for this old man right now? Hyun was startled. When did he get here? Should he lie? Not doing so wouldn't convince him. Then Hyun spoke. You've already eliminated everything unnecessary. Chairman's son questioned, I've eliminated everything unnecessary. Hyun replied, yes, sir. Chairman's son continued, is that so? Hyun worried. Another question. Fortunately, just then, Mississippi Park arrived. Hello, Yoonha. Hyun. Chairman, hello. Hyun, seeing her arrival, breathed a sigh of relief. Chairman's son then said, thank you very much for yesterday's performance, Mississippi Park. Mississippi Park replied, it was my honor to participate in the performance. Chairman's son left, saying, we'll talk later, Hyun. Have a good lesson. Hyun worried silently. Chairman's son always hides a dagger behind his smile. He won't be lenient with someone incompetent. Even subsidiary companies on the verge of collapse or incompetent children. It would be great if my grandfather thought like Chairman's son. Mississippi Park then said with a bright smile, shall we start the lesson now? Today is the first lesson for Hyun and Yoonha together, right? You can borrow my violin for now. Then Hyun spoke, Mississippi Park. Mississippi Park, hearing this, was taken aback. What? You can't read music. Then how did you play? Hyun replied, the piece I played was one I practiced. Yoonha was excited. Wow, amazing. How did you do that? Hyun continued, I've never actually learned to play properly. Mississippi Park took Hyun's hand, saying, can you let me see your hand for a moment? After taking Hyun's hand, Mississippi Park thought to herself, his hands aren't calloused. These hands have definitely never learned violin. So, well, he played without reading the sheet music. If I asked him to play the piece from yesterday again, could he do it? Even if he could imitate the movements, achieving the same emotion as then would be impossible. Perhaps I'm witnessing the beginning of a genius. Music. A moment later, is this real, Driver Kim? Driver Kim replied, of course. Fasten your seatbelt. We'll be there soon. Chairman's son also saw that Hyun had left. Yusin asked, Hyun has gone back already. Chairman's son said, that's right. He said he had something to do after the lesson. Yusin called him. It seems like something important. Chairman Yu approached the window. That boy is quite remarkable, he commented. Chairman's son inquired, are you interested in him? Chairman Yu replied, of course not. Didn't you say it yourself? Talent isn't something we possess, it's something we discover. You know it too, don't you? That boy is special. Chairman's son mused to himself. Indeed. I've had a strange feeling about him a few times now. A different perspective than simple intelligence. Not like a child. It's as if I'm speaking with someone with years of experience. Just then, Yoonha opened the door, her face bright. Grandpa, she exclaimed. Chairman's son beamed. Ah, Yoonha, there you are. Chairman Yu smiled as well. How was your lesson, my dear? Yoonha's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Hyun is a genius. I want to perform like him. Chairman's son patted her head affectionately. My discerning granddaughter is full of praise. He truly is a rare find. Yoonha seems quite fond of Hyun, doesn't she, Yu-san? Chairman Yu responded, perhaps so. Meanwhile, Hyun had arrived home. He hurried inside. I'll go in first, he called out. Moments later, he rushed into a room, his face alight. Mother, he cried. Why didn't you call me before you came? I would have met you if I'd known you were coming. Hyun's mother replied, it was a surprise. Your grandfather sent a car for me this morning. I almost forgot. I brought the kimchi you like for him. Hyun grinned. I'll put it in the refrigerator. As he walked away, he thought to himself, I never expected grandfather to make such an important decision. In my past life, he passed away without reconciling with mother. But this time, it's different. Things will definitely change. A short while later, they were all seated at the table. Chairman Yu spoke first. Was the journey tiring? Hyun's mother, Hyunja, replied, thanks to the car you provided, it was quite comfortable. Were you feeling unwell at all? The chairman responded, no, I'm fine. Hyunja breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Chairman Yu continued, but you. At that moment, a housekeeper brought in refreshments. Please have some tea. Hyunja smiled. Thank you. You still remember I like plum tea. The housekeeper smiled back. How could I forget? You're the only one in the house who drinks it. Chairman Yu took a sip of his tea and looked at his daughter. Hyunja's hands, those slender hands. It feels like just yesterday she was smiling and playing her violin. Time flies, he murmured. Then, Chairman Yu spoke again. Hyunja, you've raised your son well. He's even more mature than my greedy younger brother. They say you can tell a parent's character by looking at their children. Why didn't the two of you come together? Hunya lokit putslit. He clarified. I mean your husband, Ji-gang. Next time, come together. Hearing this, Hyunja couldn't hold back her tears. In her past life, he had never accepted her husband. Deep-seated emotions had caused a rift between them. Chairman Yu embraced his daughter. I missed you, my girl, he whispered. The scene shifted to Yoonha. I just realized, she said, why grandfather and father aren't going to the office today. Wilson replied. You're just wondering about that now. She finally noticed her grandfather and father. We're having a visitor today, someone announced. Yoonha, curious, asked a visitor. She continued, have I met them before? Someone approached and said, Chairman, the guest has arrived. The chairman replied, we should greet them, shouldn't we? By then, the guest had already entered. Yoonha seemed to recognize the visitor. The scene cut to Hyun, amidst a heartwarming reunion. Suddenly, Hyun heard a news report. The person on the news was. The scene shifted to Chairman Yu. The guest extended a hand, saying, thank you for inviting me, Chairman's son. Yoonha, looking at the guest, thought to herself, it's the foreign gentleman I sat with at the party. It would be better if the guest were Hyun, she mused. Meanwhile, Hyun himself was surprised. This person is the prince visiting Korea. Over with Chairman Yu, he said, the recent popularity that the Silly Hotel has received is all thanks to you, Samuel. Samuel smiled and said, don't say that. I haven't done anything. I'm nothing but a figurehead. It's all thanks to the potential of the Jahan Corporation. The eternal prince, Samuel Gardner. Although he wasn't initially in line for the throne, after the troublesome selection process, the new crown prince, now king, was a politician who received unprecedented support and adoration from the country. Along with all the news about Prince Samuel's visit to Korea, the Silly Hotel was always behind it, so its influence went without saying. A boost in revenue that money can't buy. Looking at his father's pleased expression, Samuel continued, by the way, father, if you don't mind, could I ask you a favor? Regarding last night's party, could I get the video of that young gentleman's performance? It seems it was recorded. Yoonha cheerfully replied, oh, of course. That's not difficult at all. But what do you need it for? Samuel answered, it's just that an old friend of mine is very passionate about classical music. I really wanted to show him the performance. Elsewhere, a group of musicians were diligently practicing, but their leader seemed displeased. He yelled, oi, you're playing offbeat. Do it again. After a while, the rehearsal ended. He bowed and said, Dimichi, is there no one here who can play the oboe properly? How can a lead miss the beat like that? Dimichi replied, you're just too much of a perfectionist. He snapped, it's not that I'm a perfectionist. They're the ones taking this too lightly. Dimichi, holding out something, said, I'm sorry, but I'm not here to recommend someone new. I'm here to give you a call. He asked, puzzled to call. Then, taking the phone, he said, what's it about? On the other end, Samuel smiled brightly. My old friend, Spencer. How are you doing these days? Spencer replied, calling me so casually. Samuel interrupted, aren't you being a bit harsh, considering I'm calling after such a long time? Besides, I'm in Korea right now. Spencer in Korea. Unexpected. Why would a prince, responsible for the welfare of his people, come here? Samuel, I've discovered a prodigy, Spencer. It's like seeing you in your prime. Spencer scoffs, I don't believe in natural talent. No one has possessed it since Mozart. Samuel, really? I'll send you the video of the performance I mentioned. See for yourself. Spencer, hanging up the phone, you're still not done with this nonsense, are you? I have to go. Spencer, I suppose I've grown soft in my old age. A prodigy. Prodigies are rubbish. Scene changes. Hyunja, father, we're here. I brought some of your favorite dishes. I hope you like them. BM Jean, seeing Hyunja, shouts you. What are you doing here? Bell Jean, also to Hyunja, look what she's brought with her. Bell Jean, how can you have the audacity to show your face here again? Chairman Yu, angrily, sit down. Chairman Yu, I have something to say. The reason I called everyone here today is for the future of Dongdu Chemicals. Chairman Yu, from today, Hyunja will also be involved in the management of Dongdu Chemicals. BM Jean and Bell Jean, anxiously, father, what are you saying? Bell Jean, this is absurd. How can you give Hyunja such authority? She hasn't contacted us in over 15 years. To think that someone who only knows how to do laundry could run a major company. I understand you're emotional seeing her again after so long. Bell Jean, but this is beyond comprehension. Chairman Yu, after a pause, Sanseong Group was taken over by a housewife, wasn't it? BM Jean, yes, sir. Chairman Yu, after her husband passed away, someone who was always a homemaker is now managing a large company, isn't she? Or are you saying gender is more important than competence in running a business? Chairman Yu, and more importantly, you haven't proven your competence to me through sales figures, have you? Hyun, thinking, this isn't like the previous life. He chose my mother based entirely on her abilities then. He's changed. The future has changed. Hyun, narrating, time passed. It's been a month since I started learning. Hyun, violin with Yoonha. Honestly, I'm really happy. Hyun, I wonder why I didn't realize this in my past life. Yoonha and Chairman Yu, moved after hearing Hyun play, such a pleasant sound. You're truly amazing. Yoonha, play another piece. Chairman Yu, looking at Hyun, thinking, no matter how many times I see it, he's an astonishing prodigy. Chairman Yu, thinking, the sound he creates is like watercolor spreading across a canvas. I understand his talent on a level I can't even fathom, but excitement overcomes my insecurity. Chairman Yu, thinking, I will strive to teach my student with all the knowledge I possess. This will certainly be a joyful experience. I truly look forward to the picture this child will paint in the future. I truly look forward to it. Yoonha then spoke up. But, Hyun, when the holidays are over, will you really go back home? Really? Mrs. Park added, it's such a shame, Hyun. Hyun thought to himself, things are so different from my previous life. I can't predict what will happen next. Returning to the present, Hyun replied, I'm still thinking about it. Yoonha said with a smile, I'll arrange everything if you don't go back. Afterward, Hyun returned home. Chairman Yu asked, you've been coming to the company with me every day lately. You must be bored, aren't you? Hyun replied, no, sir. I'm happy to be with you. The chairman continued, is that so? Your mother decided to stay here for a few more days. She seems quite worried about you. Yes, she couldn't give you an answer. She's worried about you and decided to leave. But then, the reaction from my uncles and aunts. So bland. Give me some soy sauce, quickly. Yes, ma'am. Outside, Chairman Yu overheard everything, including the sound of shattering dishes. BM Jean stammered, oh, father, your birthday is coming up soon, isn't it? My wife said she'll go to the market and prepare your favorite dishes. Seo Hyun has been crying a lot because she misses you too. Hyun, overhearing this, was taken aback. She'd just been born. How can she talk? If you're gonna make up stories, at least put some thought into it. Chairman Yu said angrily, Bang-kyung, what the hell are you doing? Do you even realize what you've done at the company? Hiring a bunch of employees through backdoor connections. A bunch of sycophants with no brains. Do you know that's no different than harboring thieves? You're useless. Beljean knelt down and pleaded, I'm sorry, father. Please forgive me just this once. It was just a small mistake. I can handle it. Chairman Yu declared, enough. Don't let me see your face at the company from tomorrow onwards. His useless offspring then left. They're always wary of Hyunja. Hyun, observing the chairman, thought he must be very worried, except for his youngest, my mother, who succeeded in her career but failed to raise decent children. But now he's changed. Even though his thoughts are wavering, I'm not sure he'll give up on his sons. Hyun then said, don't worry, grandfather. If the work isn't going well, that we can assign it to a professional manager. Chairman Yu, hearing this, was surprised. He smiled. That's a good idea. Our Hyun is quite sharp. Just then, someone opened the door and entered. Excuse me, Chairman. The chairman replied, come in, Director John. John responded, yes, sir. I have something to discuss regarding the new materials project. Hyun looked at him and thought, there's that feeling again. I feel like I've met him somewhere before. It's not just a feeling. I think I met him in my past life. He looks so familiar. Suddenly, Hyun recognized the smile. John Won-young. John Won-young glanced at Hyun, who quickly changed the subject. Hey, Hyun mused, aren't we supposed to have dinner with Director John? I just remembered. John Won-young. He's the one who leaked industrial technology to other countries, causing huge damage to domestic businesses, including Dongdu Chemicals. It ended up being known as the 21st Century Betrayal Case. That traitor, John Won-young. His face and real name were never revealed to the public back then. This is information I know from my past life, when I was involved in Prosecutor Rucky's investigation. Is this some kind of cruel joke of fate? But in this life, I absolutely will not let Dongdu Chemicals go bankrupt. This guy's like a parasite, clinging on and never letting go. How can I get rid of him? After John Won-young left, Chairman Yu sighed deeply. Hyun looked at his grandfather and asked, Grandpa, are you worried about something? Chairman Yu chuckled. I'm Fine. Do I look that gloomy? Hyun pressed. Is it because of Uncle? Chairman Yu's eyes widened in surprise. Just as expected, he thought. This boy is truly intelligent. He was already a gifted child, and lately he's been diligently observing me at work. He must have grasped some of the company's situation. We don't have much time left, but my successors are all fools. What will become of Dongdu Chemicals without me? Then, the chairman said, you don't need to worry. Hyun, I'll take care of everything. Hyun looked at him without saying a word. He thought to himself, what should I do? I currently have no evidence to prove that Director John will betray the company and cause Dongdu Chemicals to go bankrupt in the future. I'm just a kid, and my uncles will just think I'm a crazy kid disrupting them. Hyun mustered his courage and spoke, like mold doesn't just grow in one place. The chairman asked, bewildered, what do you mean? Hyun continued, when you work at a dry cleaner's, you see all kinds of clothes. Sometimes you'll find clothes covered in mold on the inside. The owner of the clothes only cares about the mold on the outside and doesn't realize there might be mold on the inside, even though it's also part of the clothes. The chairman pondered these words. That's right, the damaged part will quickly spread to other parts. If left alone, the whole garment will become useless. But why is he talking about this? The chairman suddenly recalled what had happened. Could it be that Hyun is saying this after observing everything? The scene shifted to Maestro Demichi. His assistant said, Maestro, there's been an increase in domestic demand in Asian countries like Japan and South Korea. Suddenly, someone approached. Spencer, it's me. The maestro asked, surprised, Samuel, didn't you say you were staying in Korea? Spencer hurriedly pulled something out and said, I rushed here to show you this. Look, this is a video of the boy's performance I mentioned. The maestro scoffed. So there was a reason. Forget it. I don't want to waste my time on something insignificant. Spencer quickly grabbed his hand. Just once. Please, just listen to it once. The maestro paused, thinking, usually, he'd give up as soon as I refused. Why is he so persistent this time? Finally, the maestro took the video and said, just this once. Don't waste my time again. With that, they went inside to play the video. The person on the screen was none other than Hyun. Maestro Demichi thought to himself, at first glance, nothing too impressive. How talented could this child be? What could he possibly do? Then, the music began. The maestro's expression shifted. Wait a minute. This performance style, impossible. Unbelievable. Spencer, beaming, said, so what do you think? Pretty impressive, right? Like I said, he's a genius. Gripping his hands, the maestro asked, where did you say he's from? South Korea, Spencer replied. He's in South Korea. The maestro then summoned Demichi. The next performance will be held in South Korea. Early one morning, Hyun was in the car with his grandfather, Chairman Yu, wondering to himself, where is he taking me this early in the morning? It doesn't seem like I'm going to meet someone important like the president. Are we going up a mountain? After a while, the car stopped. We've arrived, Chairman. Chairman Yu stepped out of the car and said, it's been a while, hasn't it? A nearby elderly man replied, oh my, are you well? Hyun looked around, unsure of where they were. The chairman then walked over and wiped a tombstone. I'm here, my love. Hyun realized then that this was his grandmother's resting place. Then, Chairman Yu began to speak. Hyun, do you want to hear an old story? I first met your grandmother when I was your age. She was my friend and a maid in our house. When we reached a certain age, we decided to get married. We faced fierce opposition from my family, so we decided to run away and start a new life. At that time, your grandmother asked if I had any regrets. Do you know what my answer was? I have the whole world, so what is there to regret? That's what I said. The middle letter of my name and the last letter of your grandmother's name together make Dongdu Chemicals. Just like its name, there's nothing that can replace Dongdu Chemicals for me. However, in life, some things don't go as planned. Hyun, do you like music? The chairman's question surprised Hyun. The scene shifted to Dongdu Chemicals. Are you still handling things like this? Manager Yu. How many times have I told you to pay attention to waste disposal? Manager Yu bowed his head awkwardly. I'll fix it right away, Chairman. He turned to leave, but another person approached. Hello, Chairman. The chairman replied, what brings you here, Director John? John Won-young answered, I have something to discuss regarding the new materials development project. Hyun quickly recognized him. I have to find a way to get rid of him. I've been looking into his information and family background these past few days. Even though I had someone investigate, I still couldn't find anything. I need to help grandfather. Hyun recalled the conversation from that morning. Hyun, you can do whatever you want. Nothing is more important than the life you desire. I only have one request. In the future, if Dongdu Chemicals needs you, can you help me? Hearing this, Hyun smiled. Don't worry, grandfather. I will definitely protect Dongdu Chemicals. Back in the present, he clenched his fist, thinking, what would happen if I told him? After their conversation, Director John bowed his head. Then, if you'll excuse me. With that, he took his leave. Suddenly, Chairman Yu spoke. The smell of mildew will only grow stronger. I didn't mention it before, but mildew doesn't just spread on the surface of clothes. So, before it spreads, we should disinfect it as soon as possible. A thorough cleansing is in order. Hyun was taken aback. Wow, he thought, I underestimated him. He spent his entire life building and developing this empire for himself. I'm just relying on experience from my past life while he relies on his own. Time passed. Hyun was now at Hyunha's house for their lesson. The tutor spoke. You're playing much better than last time, Hyunha. Hyunha giggled. Hee, I've been practicing really hard. Hyun noticed the tutor's troubled expression. Hyunha, still cheerful, said this part is so hard. But after practice, I'm going to my neighbor's house. Seeing her like this, Hyun spoke up. Is something bothering you, miss? The tutor forced a smile. Oh dear, is it that obvious? Hyunha chimed in, what's wrong? Tell us. After a moment of hesitation, the tutor confessed, it's just that, lately, I feel like my skills aren't improving at all. Yuna gasped. Really? Someone with your experience worries about that too. Hyun thought to himself, learning is a lifelong journey. Since she's tutoring the child of a chaebol family, the pressure must be immense on top of the skill requirements. She must trust us to share this. Hyun spoke. Come to think of it, I've never heard you play the violin properly. Hyunha added, yeah, when do you usually play? But your skills are still amazing, even though Hyun is still the best in my opinion. The tutor patted Hyunha's head. Playing a piece after a long time might be nice. Hyunha's eyes lit up. Really? The tutor turned to Hyun. Hyun wants to hear me play too. I'd also like to hear your thoughts from the previous party. I think you'll be able to pinpoint the problem. Please. Then, the sound of her violin filled the room. Both children listened intently, absorbed in the music. After the performance ended, she asked, what do you think? Hyun hesitated, then said it was bad. Hyun pondered. Although she didn't miss any notes, something felt off. The performance looked great, but where's the problem? Suddenly, something clicked. Miss, when you play, do you think about the previous beat, especially during the up bow and down bow moments? The tutor considered this. I think I'm just trying to play well. Hyun said, that's the problem. You're trying too hard to play perfectly. Yes, it looks perfect, but it feels like a robot is playing. Chasing perfection, not allowing yourself to make mistakes, but it makes it mechanical. Hyun continued. What will you do when your technique is perfect? When the melody ends, the scene shifted to another location. Dimichi asked the maestro, would you like to review the recording of today's performance? The maestro, ignoring the question, turned to Dimichi and said, what do you think of this second prodigy? Dimichi pondered for a moment, then replied, there are indeed artists with exceptional talent, but I believe that without the combination of study and experience, it all becomes meaningless. However, ever since witnessing that boy's performance, the image has been vividly etched in my mind. The maestro leaned back in his chair and added, I agree. I eagerly anticipate his upcoming performance in South Korea. But who is his teacher? From whom did he learn? Well, Dimichi responded, with such prodigious talent, wouldn't all the renowned figures in the industry be vying to take him as their student? Maestro Spencer, overhearing this, felt a jolt as if struck by lightning. He abruptly stood and hurried away. Good heavens, why didn't I think of that? Others must be having the same thought. The scene shifted to Hyun. Unbelievable. I'm actually here. The National Golf Club, meticulously designed by Chairman Yu himself. Without his son's permission, not even the most privileged families can freely enter. This is a private club where ordinary people could hardly dream of playing a single round of golf in their lifetime. I wonder what I must have done in a past life to deserve this. Chairman Yu approached Hyun. Are you all right? Is your leg still bothering you? Hyun replied, I'm fine, sir. Chairman Yu patted Hyun's head. You're so polite. I envy the bond you two share. He chuckled. My daughter said her leg hurt, so she couldn't come. If she knew you were coming, she'd be so upset. Hyun was bewildered, completely lost as to what was happening. Meanwhile, at Chairman Yu's house, Hyunha was crying. Hyun went too. It's not fair. Back at the golf course, Chairman Yu said, Chairman Yu, about the matter you inquired about earlier, we received an urgent call from Japan right after they saw the video. Miss Hirose insists on meeting Hyun. Hyun was astonished. Hirose, the violin queen of Japan, whose fame transcends classical music. She's established herself as a world-renowned violinist. Hirose wants to meet me. And that video, what does it all mean? Was there something wrong with my performance? Chairman Yu continued, finding a successor for Dongdu Chemicals is crucial, of course. But can we really let Hyun's talent go to waste? Chairman Yu fell silent, considering his words. Then he turned to Hyun. Hyun, have you thought about studying abroad? Hyun thought for a moment before answering. No, sir. I don't want to. His grandfather, Chairman Yu, asked gently, "You don't enjoy studying music?" "No, that's not it," Hyun replied, then paused, lost in thought. "I know grandfather is looking out for me, trying to make up for what he couldn't do for my mother. But he only has about 5 years left. If that's true, I don't want to spend this precious time studying overseas. Once I make up my mind, I won't regret it." Chairman Yu also said, "Hyun, you don't know Miss Hirose. She's very famous and talented." Hyun replied, "Whether she's famous or not isn't important, sir. If she wants to see me, wouldn't it be better if she came here?" Hearing these words, Chairman's son chuckled. "This boy's got some guts. I finally understand why my granddaughter adores Hyun." Chairman's son continued, "Old friend, I won't forget our promise." Chairman Yu replied, "My old friend's son, my memory might be even better than yours." Hyun, listening, couldn't understand what the two men were talking about. It seems like my future has been decided, regardless of my own wishes." At this moment, a man approached. "Chairman," he addressed Chairman's son. Then he whispered something into Chairman's son's ear. "Really?" Chairman Yu reacted. "It seems we have a visitor for Hyun." Over at Chairman's son's house, his granddaughter was receiving this guest. Hyun-ha asked hesitantly, "Who is this, sir?" The man then spoke in English, leaving Hyun-ha completely lost. He then pulled out a photograph. Hyun-ha, looking at it, recognized the person in the picture. Hyun. Just then, Hyun arrived. "What did you get here, sir?" "This is Hyun, right?" Chairman's son looked over at Hyun. "Hyun, greet our guest. He's here to see you." Hyun then said, "Hello, sir. Are you looking for me?" The man immediately took Hyun's hand. "I've always wanted to meet you." Hyun, puzzled, asked, "Meet me, sir? Who are you?" The man then introduced himself. "Ah, how careless of me. I haven't introduced myself at all. My name is Spencer. I'm the conductor of the London Volante Orchestra. I came here after watching a video of your performance. Allow me to be frank. I'd like you to perform as a guest at the London Volante Orchestra Symphony." Hyun was stunned into silence. Spencer continued, "Of course, you won't be able to join immediately. You'll need to prove yourself first. But if you are indeed the young man in the video, I'll add you to my orchestra." Immediately, Kang Hyun was astonished. The London Volante, one of the top orchestras in England, as a guest performer. Spencer continued, "Hyun, I want to hear you play again. If you don't mind, could you play the violin right here?" Hyun-ha, excited, chimed in, "You need a violin, right? Right? I'll get it right away." She quickly brought out the violin. Kang Hyun, taking it, thought to himself, "I wonder how a musician feels having to perform in front of such influential people. Honestly, this is so unexpected, and I'm not entirely comfortable. But since you came all this way to see me, shouldn't I reciprocate? All the way from England to South Korea, and the conductor of the London Volante, no less. It would be rude to refuse." Kang Hyun spoke, "Then I'll play just one piece." The scene shifted to another location. A performance had just finished. The performer was none other than Miss Hirose. Backstage, she asked, "So, no response from South Korea yet?" The man beside her replied, "No, not yet." Suddenly, a young man entered. "Excuse the interruption. I'm honored to have performed with you today, Miss Hirose." Hirose approached him and said, "Young-hoon, you did very well. I apologize if I seem distracted." Young-hoon stammered, "No, not at all, Miss Hirose. You've been my idol since I was a child. Collaborating with the Queen of Strings has been a lifelong dream. My heart is still racing with joy." Hirose inquired, "By the way, Young-hoon, you've been to South Korea, haven't you? Are there any violinists there who have impressed you? Not an adult, but a child, perhaps." Young-hoon pondered for a moment. "Well, South Korea doesn't have a large classical music scene. So, it seems there aren't any young prodigies in the lower grades who could meet your expectations, Miss Hirose. Is that so?" Hirose mused. Hirose's assistant spoke up. "Aren't you a bit too preoccupied with that child, Miss Hirose? If you were to look, I'm sure there's at least one genius in Japan." "No," Hirose replied, "there's no one in Japan. Because that child is completely different. I only know that he comes from some chaebol family, and he's never appeared in international competitions." "Where did he come from?" The scene shifted to Spencer, sitting on a plane. This lingering feeling, the melody Kang Hyun played point one of the 6 solo violin sonatas written by Bach, that known as a memorial piece for his deceased wife. Bach's Partita No. 1 in B minor for solo violin exudes a grandeur, as if an invisible organ accompanies the melody. How could a child perform this piece? It requires not only musical knowledge, but also emotional maturity. Inviting him as a guest performer was definitely my mistake. Chairman Yu, astonished, exclaimed, "This is truly exceptional." Before, I was merely impressed, but now I'm certain. That child's talent surpasses every musical talent I've ever known. Chairman Yu continued, addressing another, "Chairman Sun, I honestly don't know what to do with that child anymore." Chairman Sun asked, perplexed, "Why are you so worried? You know he's a bright kid. He'll handle things on his own. Even taking over Dongdu chemicals, of course. So, whatever Hyun chooses, there's definitely a deeper meaning we don't know." Hyun said, "I decline your offer. Honestly, I didn't expect to be rejected, but surprisingly, I don't feel bad at all. That look in his eyes, that he understands his own talent better than anyone else. So no one can easily acquire him. Come to think of it, that child's hands didn't have any calluses. I thought there wouldn't be another genius after Mozart and Samuel." You were right. The scene shifted to Jung-hoon, practicing frantically. "Damn it, I'm such a fool. I was too excited to collaborate with Miss Hirose. I thought I could be on her level, but I made a mistake while performing with her. Even if it was just a brief moment the audience didn't notice." Miss Hirose was different. Afterward, as if nothing happened, she covered my mistake with her graceful melody. My arrogance ruined the performance. The scene shifts to Hyun's aunt. "Father, is he in the study?" The housekeeper replies, "He left this morning with young Master Hyun, ma'am." His aunt wonders, "This morning? Where did they go?" The scene shifts to Japan. Chairman Yu, Hyun's grandfather, asks, "Is this your first time on a plane, Hyun?" Hyun replies, "Yes, it's very exciting." The chairman chuckles, "Actually, you don't need to take your shoes off on a plane." Hyun, embarrassed, murmurs, "Really? I didn't know. Besides that, Narita Airport isn't much different from other airports. But why did you come to Japan? Your vacation is far from over." Hyun thinks, perhaps he wants to take me on a trip. He ventures, when we get to Japan, there's a place I want to visit. His grandfather asks, intrigued, where? They arrive at Hyun's chosen destination. The chairman is surprised. "How did you know about this place?" Hyun replies, "I saw in a magazine. It's famous for its Japanese cuisine. Seeing this elderly couple reminds me of my parents. I used to come here every time I visited Tokyo. It's been a while, hasn't it?" Chairman Yu stands up. "Hyun, I'm going to take this call." Hyun replies, "Yes, grandfather." He takes a bite of ramen. Suddenly, he sees Jung-hoon, a pianist. His concentration is incredible, even while eating. But there's something about his playing. Hyun approaches Jung-hoon. "You're good," he says. Jung-hoon, startled, looks up. "What did you say?" Hyun continues, "You keep playing. Brahms Violin Sonata No. 3. Jung-hoon is stunned. How does he know what I'm playing just from the movement of my fingers? How is that possible? Even if he recognized the piece, this kid, who is he? Hyun speaks. The expression of a piece of music depends entirely on the performer. It doesn't have to follow a fixed mold. Your left hand, which should be playing the melancholic low notes, is restrained. You're too focused on perfection to convey any emotion. You're trying to play a living piece of music, but you're playing a piece that died 100 years ago." Jung-hoon's eyes widen. He's right. I was focused on perfection, to not disappoint her, to avoid mistakes. But Brahms' music, it's meant to be interpreted in contradictory ways. There is never a standard way to play it from the beginning. This piece that died 100 years ago, kid. Before he can finish, Hyun is gone. The scene changes. Chairman Yu points. Over there is the Tokyo Opera House. Hyun is awestruck. A solo concert held in such a grand place. Hyun, his grandfather continues, "I have something to tell you. I booked tickets for Hirose's concert, which will be held here tomorrow. Would you like to go with me? Since you said you didn't want to study abroad, you should at least experience something like this. What do you say? Are you happy?" Hyun is ecstatic. "Yes, grandfather. I'm very happy." He thinks, Hirose, "I can't believe I'll see the Queen of Strings perform live. So that's why he brought me to Japan." The chairman adds, "Now, let's go back to the hotel and rest up for tomorrow." Hyun, brimming with excitement, replies, "Yes, grandfather." The chairman looks at his grandson, thinking, this child's talent shouldn't be confined to a small stage. I want him to express himself more, to let people hear him, and to let him experience new things I couldn't do for my family. The next day, at the Tokyo Opera House, Hyun, brimming with excitement, thanked his grandfather for bringing him. "And these seats are so close," he exclaimed. Chairman Yu smiled. "I'm glad you're enjoying yourself." The performance was about to begin. Hyun's eyes widened in surprise. Wasn't that the person he saw at the ramen shop yesterday? That's ice-cold maestro Baek Jung-hoon. I didn't recognize him so young. Why did I say those things to him back then? Just then, the main performer appeared. It was none other than Miss Hirose. She paused, her gaze fixing on Hyun. She pointed directly at him. Finally, she said, I found you. Hyun blinked, bewildered. Did she just point at me? Then, her performance began. Brahms, Violin Sonata Número 3. The sound of the Stradivarius whispered like moonlight, echoing through the hall. As the melody swelled towards its crescendo, a storm gathered. This playing, it's incredible. I only gave him a small suggestion, and he turned it into his own masterpiece. He truly deserves the title of ice-cold maestro. But the star of this performance is undoubtedly the violin queen. Like someone driven to the brink, she embraces the sound, desperate, with a melody full of compassion. This is the Hirose performance I've always longed to hear. After the concert ended, the two left the hall. Chairman Yu sighed. I've never heard anyone play the violin like that. Hyun nodded in agreement. Me neither, grandfather. It was truly amazing. Suddenly, a man approached them. Excuse me for interrupting, he said. I'm Hasegawa Goro, Miss Hirose's manager. Might I have a moment of your time? Hyun looked at him, puzzled. Is something the matter? Goro replied, not at all. It's just that Miss Hirose would like to meet you both. The scene shifted to Miss Hirose's room. Young-hoon bowed his head low. I sincerely apologize, Miss Hirose. She approached him. What are you talking about, Young-hoon? He replied, even though I made a mistake last time, I didn't admit it and felt ashamed. Because of my mistake, I ruined your performance. I sincerely apologize. Miss Hirose spoke softly. Tonight's performance. Young-hoon, your playing was truly outstanding. Even better than the performance that day. I think that apology is enough. Young-hoon, embarrassed, said, actually, there was a child who helped me improve. Although I don't know his name. At that moment, Hirose's manager entered, along with Hyun. Hirose, I brought the person you mentioned. Hyun looked at Young-hoon, thinking, what's this? Although he had anticipated this reaction, that panicked expression, what's that about? I didn't think he'd recognize me. But to think the violinist I met at the ramen shop was Baek Young-hoon. Miss Hirose approached Hyun. Hyun, she said, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. Hyun looked at her, thoughts swirling. This is strange. In my past life, by the time I became a fan of Hirose, she had already passed away. I could do nothing but listen to her albums. And now, to meet her like this, Hyun took her hand. The honor is all mine, Miss Hirose. As she looked at his hands, a flicker of surprise crossed her face. Incredible, truly. If such talent is achieved purely through effort, it simply doesn't make sense. I was captivated by her fiery performance the moment I heard it. If I didn't have prior engagements, I would have flown to Korea immediately. So Hyun, would you be willing to discuss the violin with me for a while? Young-hoon overheard and was stunned. Not just a meeting, but a discussion. This meant she acknowledged this boy as a musician worthy of her time. The boy from the ramen shop. So this is the child she was searching for. Hyun hesitated. Seeing his expression, Miss Hirose retrieved her violin. Well now, she said, would you like to try playing mine? Her manager, Hasegawa Goro, gasped. That violin, the object of every violinist's desire. One of the three sacred treasures of the violin world. A Stradivarius, an instrument considered a musician's very lifeblood. Hasegawa stammered. Miss Hirose, surely that's a bit. Hyun stood before the offered Stradivarius, speechless. The scene shifted. Hello, Mr. Baek Young-hoon. How do you feel after collaborating with the musician Hirose of the Japanese music scene? Well, Young-hoon replied, it was a tremendous honor. More than a collaboration, it was a masterclass. That alone speaks volumes about her greatness. The reporter continued, I understand Miss Hirose holds you in high regard, Mr. Baek Young-hoon, believing you will become a leading figure in the future of Korean classical music. What are your thoughts on this? Young-hoon smiled. While I wouldn't presume so much, I do believe the Korean classical scene is poised for significant change. The scene shifted back to Hyun. Hyun, Chairman, you said, are the hot springs treating you well? Hyun, invigorated, replied, yes, grandfather. I want to come back again. Then, with a touch of concern, he added, by the way, have you had your regular health checkup yet? Chairman, you chuckled. Don't you worry about me, boy. I've got at least 15 more years in me. Hyun paused, a shadow crossing his face. But he only has about 5, and there's still so much left unresolved. Hyun, Chairman, you asked, why didn't you try playing Miss Hirose's violin? Hyun was taken aback. How? Chairman, you smiled. You think I don't understand Japanese. I know more than anyone about your exceptional talent with the violin. But I'm curious. Why did you refuse her offer? With her guidance, your future with the violin would be assured. Hyun thought to himself, I never imagined grandfather would think that way. Honestly, I wanted to accept, but if I had played the violin then, I might not have been able to see him again. Aloud, he said, "You should take care of your health, grandfather." Chairman Yu raised an eyebrow. "Trying to change the subject, are you?" Time passed quickly. "You, huh?" Chairman's son exclaimed joyfully. "How was your trip to Japan?" "It was wonderful," Hyun replied. "Yuha." Chairman's son beamed. "I'm glad to hear it." Yuha's father scowled. "My daughter actually has a boyfriend, and she's saying another boy's name right in front of me." A little later, inside the house, Chairman's son poured tea. "This is a rare tea grown on Mount Simsan. Please try some." Yuha politely declined, but Hyun took a sip. Chairman's son was surprised. "I didn't think he'd appreciate this tea." He set down his cup. "Yusan," he began, "there have been a lot of rumors lately about the factory location." Yusan replied, "Yes, father, but you don't need to worry. I'll handle everything well." Hyun, overhearing, thought to himself, if it's about the factory, the surrounding areas of Gyeonggi province are competing fiercely to attract Jahan Corporation's factories. In the end, things went too far due to the excessive zeal of the residents. It was an unprecedented incident, and that was the only mistake Yusan made. Chairman's son continued, "How does the political side plan to handle this?" Yusan answered, "That matter has been handed over to the regional representative. The relocation to the Weizong factory will be confirmed soon." Hyun sighed inwardly, thinking, son Yusan is still inexperienced. In reality, this was handled by the regional representative, and because of that, it offended many other politicians. They don't realize they're just continuing to enrich those parasites. Suddenly, he turned to Hyun and said, "Hyun, can I ask you something? If there were two thieves who wanted to steal your belongings, what would you do?" Hyun was taken aback, thinking, isn't this question too blatant? I'm under pressure, but I don't want to interfere in this matter. He hesitated, then replied, "To avoid having my things stolen, I think I should satisfy both of them." A moment later, Chairman's son chuckled and said, "Where did the Go player go? Does he only know how to eat and play Go? I lost. Next time, I won't be fooled again," Chairman Yu said with a laugh. "Should I start counting how many times you've lost?" Chairman's son changed the subject. "Anyway, Hyun, that boy's a lot like you." Yusan is still refusing. Both azaleas and pines grow from fertilizer. If only one is fertilized, the other will be envious. It's understandable. It's not just intellectual understanding. That's Hyun's special quality. In that moment, he grasped the whole issue. How can he do that at his age? He's like a ghost, appearing and disappearing. What are your plans for Hyun's schooling? Chairman Yu replied, "As soon as the break ends, I'll arrange for Hyun to study in Seoul." Chairman's son responded, "Oh, that's a big decision. Yuha will probably have to travel back and forth between Seoul and Yeongdo. You won't forget your promise, will you?" The scene shifted. This is Hirose's album. It's even signed. "Thank you so much." Hyun replied, "You're welcome." Ms. Park asked, after witnessing Hirose's performance firsthand, "How do you feel?" Hyun paused for a moment, then said, "The Queen of Strings. She was truly amazing." A moment later, Ms. Park looked at Hyun, thinking, Hyun learned so quickly. Not just violin technique, but the way he explains the music so deeply. He excels in every area, especially when he gives me advice. Ms. Park spoke up. "Hyun, would you be interested in entering a competition?" Yuha asked curiously, "What kind of competition?" Ms. Park explained, "A global music competition. Although your age and experience might be a hurdle, if you can demonstrate your abilities, you can definitely get a letter of recommendation. And since it's an international competition, the skill requirements are very high. It will be a great experience for you." Hyun replied, "I'm not interested in participating in a competition." Ms. Park was surprised. "Huh, but Hyun, if you win, you'll receive so many benefits." Hyun looked at the violin in his hands, thinking, I play the violin simply because I enjoy it. Besides, I don't want to compete with anyone. I'm confident I can make a lot of money, so I don't need to worry about the prize money. Besides, in my past life, I spent my whole life chasing wealth and fame, but not now. Ms. Park continued, "Oh, right. If you win, you'll be exempt from military service." Hyun, stunned by this revelation, bolted upright. "Are you sure?" Hyun's face paled. He thought to himself, "It's been so long. I completely forgot about that. In my past life, I was a military prosecutor, so I didn't have to serve. Does that mean I have to in this life? I don't have any expectations with those people. It wouldn't surprise me if they found a way to ship me off, spending my youth serving the country. This is a good opportunity to assess my abilities. This competition is important. I can't give it up, and of course I can do it. Even if Beethoven himself were to come back to life, I would still be the victor." The scene shifted to the two chairmen. Chairman's son chuckled. "If you keep staring at it, the board will flip itself." Chairman Yu suddenly asked, "What do you think about violins, Chairman's son?" Chairman's son looked surprised. "Violins. Ah, you're talking about Hyun, aren't you?" A violin can be quite expensive. Chairman Yu inquired. Expensive? How expensive? Chairman's son pondered for a moment. Let me see. I heard that Miss Hirose's violin is worth around $40,000, and that was back in the 60s. Chairman Yu gasped. $40,000. Chairman's son continued. But back then, an apartment in New York wasn't even $40,000, was it? Now, it's probably increased tenfold. Even if it isn't put up for auction, we can't really know its true value. Chairman Yu took a sip of his tea. I knew it was expensive, but I didn't think it was that expensive. Chairman Yu recalled his trip to Japan. So, do you want to use Miss Hirose's violin once? Why don't you want to play her Stradivarius? Chairman Yu slammed his teacup down on the table. Say, son, do you want to play a game with me? That night, the rain poured down. Belle Jaeun knelt, weeping in the downpour. Father, please, give me another chance. Chairman Yu opened the door. Belle Jaeun, do you know where you went wrong? It really wasn't a management problem. Everything I said was true, but I'll do my best to handle everything if you give me another chance. From now on, I won't cause you any more worry. Chairman Yu roared, you idiot. You think this is a management issue, a corruption issue. Enough. I don't want to hear another word. Belle Jaeun continued to plead, but Chairman Yu ignored him and walked back inside. The next morning, at Dongdu Chemical, Hyun was still pondering Ms. Park's words. Hyun, would you like to participate in the global music competition? It would be a great opportunity for you. Suddenly, Chairman Yu spoke. Hyun, should I give you a task? Hyun looked up, bewildered. A task, sir. Chairman Yu smiled. If you can amuse me, I'll reward you with something. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Good morning, Chairman. Hyun instantly recognized the voice. I forgot that the traitor my uncle brought in is still here. Jeon Von-young, the executive director of the new materials development team. In my past life, he was the one who leaked all of our new materials technology overseas. Why doesn't he become an actor? I absolutely have to find a way to get rid of him and protect Dongdu Chemical. Those documents must be fake. There isn't much information out there yet about the new materials, so it would be easy for him to forge them. Now is the time for my counterattack. Hyun spoke up. Grandpa, could I take a look at those documents? He then picked up a pen and circled a few sections, marking them. Chairman Yu watched him, thinking to himself, even if Hyun is smart, can he really understand documents like these? These are confidential and legal regulations related to new materials development. Can he even read them? Chairman Yu wondered. Hyun said, Grandpa, these documents were written by the former executive director, weren't they? Yes, they were. But look here, Grandpa. Don't you think the crucial parts of the document are written vaguely and subjectively? Chairman Yu, intrigued, asked, what do you mean, Hyun? Hyun replied, the slant of the handwriting changes depending on how it's written. It looks similar at first glance, but there are subtle differences in the strokes, and that can completely change the meaning. But if Director John wrote this document, the development of the new material might not be exclusive to Dongdu Chemical. The prosecution will come after Dongdu Chemical if there's a problem, because there's nothing in this document to protect our rights. Moreover, this is a huge project. If someone sells these plans, Dongdu Chemical will be held responsible, not Director John. Hyun thought to himself, back in the 1990s, the laws were relatively lax, so schemes like this were rampant. It was even called the era of corporate fraud. Furthermore, since Dongdu Chemical doesn't have a legal team yet, they're bound to run into these kinds of problems. Jahan Corporation took advantage of the information leak from Dongdu Chemical. Chairman Yu asked, Hyun, how do you know all this? Hyun hesitated. He thought, this is all information I know from my past life. How can I possibly explain that? He needed to come up with an excuse. Hyun stammered, I saw it on the news, sir. They mentioned a similar case before. Chairman Yu, after a moment of suspicion, chuckled. Is that so? Hyun asked, but you did laugh, right? You promised you'd reward me. Chairman Yu smiled warmly. So what do you want? The scene shifted to another location. You're back, Chairman, someone said. Good work, Chairman Yu replied. Belle Jaeun was still there. Father, he pleaded, I came to ask you one more time. Please, give me another chance. Chairman Yu looked at him for a moment and then said, come inside. A moment later, they went inside. A housekeeper approached Hyun. Would you like to change your clothes? No, thank you, Hyun replied, thinking to himself, his clothes are a bit different from when I saw him this morning. So he's trying to look pitiful for his father. He probably changed his clothes while I was outside with the housekeeper. He might have even purposely stood in the rain just before someone arrived. I can see through this. How could Chairman Yu not notice? Chairman Yu addressed his son, Bell Jayun. Bell Jayun immediately responded, yes, father. The chairman continued, I don't want to belabor the point. From now on, you will not interfere in company affairs. Bell Jayun reacted strongly. Father, I know I failed to properly manage my subordinates, but isn't this punishment too harsh? If I had known, I wouldn't have let this happen. How can someone who is unaware be held responsible? Chairman Yu turned to Hyun and said, Hyun, would you excuse us for a moment? Hyun stood up and replied, of course. The meal was delicious. After Hyun left, Bell Jayun pleaded, Father, please understand what I'm saying. I knew nothing about the embezzlement. What's done is done. Chairman Yu slapped Bell Jayun across the face. You dare say this after what those people you brought into the company have done. This is my fault for letting someone so clueless sit in the executive director's chair. You don't even know where you went wrong. I don't want to see your face. Get out. Bell Jayun dropped to his knees. Father, I was wrong. Please forgive me this once, father. Hyun, observing the scene, thought to himself, compared to the company going bankrupt, this is nothing. The scene shifted to a different location. Chairman, I found the item you requested. Chairman's son smiled brightly. Excellent work. Will the auction be held? He asked. The other person replied, it's scheduled to be held in New York. The expected winning bid is... Chairman's son's eyes widened at the figure. I knew it would be high, but not this high. We absolutely must win that bid. Still, having a son-in-law would be quite useful right now. Hyun's ears perked up. Did someone just mention me? Ms. Park spoke. Hyun, what do you think? Is there anything that needs adjusting? Hyun thought. She doesn't hesitate to ask, does she? Someone this dedicated is a true genius. Hyun reached out and took her violin. There's something I've been meaning to say. Your posture is incorrect. Ms. Park looked surprised. My posture? Hyun continued. You've been playing the violin since you were young, haven't you? You've probably developed a habit, so ingrained it could be in a textbook, but it's not suitable for someone your age. Because you're so focused on maintaining that perfect posture, you haven't noticed that one of your shoulders is slumping. Ms. Park's eyes widened. My shoulder. This is the first time I've heard this. Try standing like this, Hyun instructed. Ms. Park followed his guidance. Like this. Hyun, if I stand like this. Hyun interrupted. It will definitely improve. Just try it. Ms. Park, after adjusting her stance, was astonished. It's different. The sound is richer, the melody smoother. How is this possible? Hyun replied. Almost everyone has their own unique center of balance, but it's not easy to see with the naked eye. So, people keep doing what they think is right, gradually forming habits. Ms. Park thought to herself, I've been playing the violin my whole life and never realized this. How could this young man see something like that? Hyun continued, that's right, Ms. Park. You mentioned needing a letter of recommendation to enter the competition, didn't you? Ms. Park, puzzled, replied, yes, why? Hyun asked, would a letter of recommendation from someone overseas be acceptable? The scene shifted to Spencer, a renowned violinist. He frowned at a student's playing. Try that passage again, he instructed. A bald man nearby whispered, what's with Maestro today? He's not getting angry. He's actually giving him another chance. Someone with hair asked, why are you asking me? The shaved head replied, because you're a musician. The bow, every time it's tightened, becomes sharp. So sharp it feels like it could cut me. Isn't he gentler today? Not bristling like he usually does. Look at everyone. They all find it strange. Maybe it's because he's looking forward to the performance in Asia. The shaved head asked, Asia. Why? The other person replied, you don't know. The maestro's muse is there. A moment later, Spencer was watching the performance when someone approached. I apologize for disturbing you while you're resting, the person said. Spencer replied, it's all right, Joseph. What is it? Joseph presented a letter, saying, there's a letter for you, sir. Spencer, perplexed, asked a letter. Who would send me a letter? Opening the letter and reading it, Spencer was utterly astonished. Then, a smile spread across his face. This is very good news. The scene shifted to Hyun. He opened a gift box and was taken aback. Grandpa, what's with this suit? Hyun asked. Chairman, you replied. I prepared it for you. You'll be accompanying me to an important wedding today. Hyun inquired, a wedding, sir? Chairman Yu answered, yes, the wedding of the heir to the Sanseong Group. Is something wrong? Hyun forced a smile. Oh, it's just that I saw the name in the news recently, so it struck me as a bit familiar. Hyun thought to himself, the Sanseong Group. If I remember correctly, the groom today is Kim Song-jin, the youngest of the Sanseong Group. He's notorious in the business world for his impulsiveness. I met him once before at Ms. Cho's office. He practically lived there. What kind of karma did the bride-to-be incur to end up with him? Chairman, you called out, Hyun, are you ready? Hyun replied, yes, sir. A little while later, it's time to go. Why isn't father out yet? At that moment, Hyun and Chairman Yu emerged. BM Jun, seeing Hyun, questioned, Father, what's the meaning of this? You're bringing Hyun along. Chairman Yu, without a word, walked on. BM Jaeun approached Hyun and said, "There will be many important figures at this event, so don't do anything to embarrass us." "Yes," Hyun replied, "I understand, sir." Hyun thought to himself, he looks so worried. He must have heard about what happened with his younger brother. How amusing. They think I can't handle myself. Before worrying about me, he should worry about himself. Chairman, got into the car and said to the driver, "Driver Kim, let's go." Hyun's uncle exclaimed, "Father, what about me?" Chairman Yu sighed. "I didn't say I was taking him." Hyun chuckled inwardly. "You're the best, Grandpa." Come to think of it, it's finally arrived, he mused. The letter of recommendation. The scene shifted to another location. "It's been a while, Your Majesty," a voice said. Hirose chuckled. "Your Majesty, thank you for coming." This person was Adam Wizard, the editor-in-chief of Gramophone. Adam beamed. "You don't need to mention it. It's my honor, Your Majesty of the Strings. Congratulations on the release of your 30th album. I'm certain this album will win the Deutscher Schallplattenpreis, the Gramophone Award, once again." Hirose laughed. "I feel like I'm being shown favoritism. Adam similit bidaytli." Haha, you understand. Gramophone, our magazine, is the most famous classical music publication in the world. This isn't a place where we base our opinions on the whims of a single editor. Hirose lifted his teacup and replied, "Of course, I know." Adam paused for a moment, then said, "I heard you declined a judging position for a competition. Everyone was looking forward to you taking on that role. But why did you refuse?" Hirose offered a small smile. "Is that so? I simply felt I wouldn't be able to offer impartial feedback. I've been captivated by the melody of a certain someone. So, if they were to participate, I wouldn't be able to focus on any other performance." Adam stared at her in astonishment, thinking to himself, for the queen to say such a thing. She knows all the active violinists, but if it's about the competition participants, who on earth could make the queen so flustered she can't give proper feedback? Hirose continued, "Adam, I heard that a Stradivarius will be displayed at this auction." Adam replied, "Ah yes. You'll be participating in this auction as well, won't you?" Because of the Stradivarius, compared to Euphoria, they hold similar value. Hirose nodded. "But that doesn't mean I need to possess it. I already have a partner I've been using for a long time." Adam continued, "But I think a Stradivarius shouldn't be displayed in a museum. It's frustrating for an instrument of such value to be locked in a glass case, a plaything for the rich." As predicted, an Asian businessman quickly snatched it up. "The true value of an instrument lies in creating sound," Hirose stated. Paganini said that within a Stradivarius resides a soul. Whether angel or demon, only those who can play its melody can know. So don't worry, Adam. That violin will eventually find its true owner, someone who can truly understand its essence and create magnificent sounds. Hearing this, Adam's eyes widened in surprise. The one who finally understands it, the owner of that violin, and the one who can create such captivating melodies. The scene shifted to another location, the marriage of two large corporations, so the guest list is quite extensive. There are many familiar faces from the previous party. The wedding is being held in a church. Are they trying to turn an arranged marriage into a romantic love story? Yuha spoke up. "Look at the bride and groom. This is the portrait of the bride and groom. The ceremony is underway. They're so beautiful and handsome. Don't you think so? They look like a prince and princess." Ken replied, "Yes, indeed." He thought to himself, but later, they'll have a bloody and tearful divorce battle. Marriage isn't always beautiful, Yuha. The MC announced, "Next, let's enjoy a performance celebrating the love of this talented and beautiful couple." Hyun was surprised to see this person. Baek Young-hoon, why is a secretive person like him here? The reception quickly began. "Do you want more to eat?" "Yuha, please eat and stop looking at me. I don't know why Yuha likes me so much either." Chairman Sun spoke up. "Yu-sun, how are things in Tianjin?" Yu-sun replied, "We're still in discussions with their side. It's going to take a little more time." Chairman Sun declared resolutely, "I believe expanding into India would be more advantageous." Yu-sun responded apologetically, "I'm sorry. I'll expedite matters in Tianjin." Hyun thought to himself, Chairman Sun is certainly a decisive man, but he's a man of vision. His reasoning for choosing China isn't simply due to lower labor costs. He foresees China dominating half the global semiconductor market in the future. But that's still a long way off. Something doesn't feel quite right. A moment later, Chairman Sun moved on to greet other guests. Hyun and Yuha stood off to the side, talking. "Your grandfather is quite popular," Yuha remarked dryly. Hyun thought, he's acting as if he's the star of this party, not the Sanseon Group chairman. Most of the attendees were recipients of the Jahan Scholarship Program. Just then, two men approached. "Chairman, greetings. I'm Kim Song-jin, son of the Samsung Group chairman. Thank you so much for attending our wedding, Yuha replied. Suddenly, Yuha noticed something and exclaimed, "Brother, what's on the groom's neck?" Hyun glanced over, noticing the prominent veins on the groom's throat. Side effects from erectile dysfunction medication. Hyun stammered, Yuha, what is that? He thought to himself, Kim Sung-jin, please try to live a respectable life. Just then, Baek Young-hoon approached, and Hyun spoke up, I didn't expect to see you here. Young-hoon replied, yes, it's good to see you again. So what do you think? Hyun was taken aback, thinking, what's with this expression? Looking at him now, I can't imagine him becoming the dignified figure with those sharp, discerning eyes I know from the future. It's not him at all. Hyun then asked, how did you know I was here? Young-hoon answered, I saw you before I went on stage. Oh, I see. Both my grandfather and I were quite surprised, and your performance was amazing. Young-hoon hesitated. About the performance. I made a mistake. You noticed, didn't you? Yes, Hyun replied. A mistake. Where? It sounded perfect. It was a performance worthy of welcoming a new generation maestro. Even if you knew nothing about piano, you could feel its brilliance. But for such a perfect performance, why were his fingers so stiff? Hyun asked, you hate these kinds of events, don't you? Young-hoon sighed. How do you know everything? There's something the public doesn't know. Before he became known as the Ice Prince conductor, he was also a member of the Samsung family. There's not much information about his family, but it seems he doesn't want his background revealed. That's why he acts so cold. Later, when his career takes off. Almost forgot about that. Hyun then smiled and said, don't let the world define your music. When people hear you play, they forget everything else that doesn't matter. Hyun looked at him, thinking, even though you're not the person I knew, I know you'll become someone truly great. The scene shifted to another location. Did you receive the letter of recommendation? Hyun replied, yes, I did. I didn't expect it to arrive so quickly. Yuha placed her hand somewhere. Brother. The sound changed completely. It sounds so much better. Ms. Park asked Hyun, so, who wrote your letter of recommendation? Was it the foreigner you mentioned earlier? Hyun replied, yes, ma'am. There's no need to worry. Ms. Park still seemed anxious. But if the recommender isn't a respectable person or someone involved in music, the letter won't be accepted. Hyun chuckled inwardly. I should probably tell her who wrote the letter, he thought. A recommendation from the conductor of the London Philharmonic and the Queen of Strings. Hirose. She'd probably faint if I told her. Just then, someone approached. Hyun, the chairman wants to see you. Hyun quickly went to meet Chairman Sun. You're here. Have a seat. Hyun apologized. I'm sorry to be called away during class. Hyun smiled. It's no problem, sir. Did you need something? Chairman Sun gestured to the tea. Have some tea first. I hear you're about to participate in a competition. Hyun replied, yes, sir. Did Ms. Park tell you? Chairman Sun continued. Our Hyun seems to be quite fond of music. Hyun's thoughts drifted. Avoiding military service is my main goal, he mused. Chairman Sun continued. So, do you play Go? Hyun answered, a little, sir. Then let's play a game. If you win, I'll give you a present. The scene shifted to where conductor Spencer was. He and his orchestra were playing together, creating exquisite melodies. A smile spread across his face. All right, Dimichi, I'm going to get something to eat. Would you like to join me? Dimichi replied, certainly. The two of them quickly left to have a meal together. I heard the Queen Elizabeth competition has been postponed until autumn. Dimichi replied, that's right. Honestly, my mind is completely preoccupied with that child these days. Dimichi looked at Spencer, thinking to himself, ever since he returned from Korea, his mood has been much better. He's changed a lot. Despite that, the orchestra members find his new methods rather intimidating. Spencer spoke, Dimichi, if Paganini were to come back to life, what do you think would happen? Dimichi replied, I'm sorry, but that's rather difficult to imagine. Spencer continued, if it were that boy, I think the whole world would be captivated by his melodies. The scene shifted again. Chairman Sun asked, you taught Hyun how to play Go. Is that right, old friend? Chairman Yu looked skeptical. This is the first I'm hearing of it. He knows how to play. Chairman Sun settled into his chair and said, he doesn't just know how to play. For a few moves there, I felt like he was guiding me. If he truly knew nothing about Go, how could he have made those moves? Such a tense match, a spectacular victory, but it was all orchestrated by Hyun. Chairman Yu brought a hand to his chin, pondering. Really, Hyun, to be honest, I've encountered a few interesting things myself recently. Do you remember our discussion about the new materials a while back? Even when the documentation had errors, I didn't notice them right away. But Hyun did. even though the way he expressed it was, well, like a child. You should have seen him reading the regulations. Hyun is truly intelligent. Chairman Sun's eyes lit up at this. Regulations. Really? Chairman Yu waved a dismissive hand. Calm down. You haven't forgotten about our wager, have you? Chairman Sun grinned. Forget. Do you think I'm that old? Secretary Kim, Chairman Sun commanded, bring that to me, and called both Hyun and Yu Han as well. Chairman Yu, perplexed, questioned, where you up to? Chairman Sun replied simply, I knew you'd fuss. I bought it. Hyun, lost in thought, pondered the situation. A flicker of curiosity ignited within him. What could Chairman Sun's gift possibly be? He wondered. Caught off guard, Hyun struggled to process the earlier exchange. What could have prompted Chairman Sun to propose a wager? I haven't the slightest clue. Yuha's voice broke through his thoughts. Appa, she asked, how is my playing? Hyun, stroking her hair affectionately, replied, wonderful. You're a true genius. Inwardly, however, his mind raced. Truthfully, I'm burning to know if I can actually beat him. In my past life, it would have been impossible. At that moment, someone approached. Yuha, Hyun, the newcomer announced. Chairman Sun requests your presence. Yuha pouted. Honestly, he always calls for us, right, when I'm showing Appa my playing. Moments later, Hyun arrived. You called for us, sir? He inquired. Chairman Sun gestured. Come here, both of you. Hyun, glancing between the two chairmen, wore a look of astonishment. What's going on? Why is my heart pounding like this? Chairman Sun addressed Secretary Kim. Open it, he instructed. Yes, sir. Secretary Kim responded obediently. I recall it being described as a fiery red, with streaks of black, like scorch marks. Ah, yes, Chairman Sun confirmed. It's called Fantasia. Hyun stared, utterly dumbfounded. Good heavens, am I dreaming? This is a masterpiece of the violin world. But in my previous life, it was destroyed by fire. And now, it's right here before my eyes. Back then, a Chinese businessman, the owner, claimed that somehow Fantasia spontaneously combusted. Perhaps he was telling the truth. Seeing it now, in person, Hyun felt utterly captivated. I yearn to play it. Yuha's eyes widened. It's so beautiful. How did you get it? Chairman Sun beamed. I bought it as a gift for Hyun. Hyun froze, his mind reeling. So this is the gift he was talking about. Wait a minute. If that's the case. Chairman Sun's grin widened. But Hyun lost our wager, didn't he? Such a pity. So, I can't give Hyun this gift after all. However, he continued, a twinkle in his eye, I'll still let you borrow it for the competition. It's an important event, after all. Hyun was speechless, inwardly lamenting. Even though he knows I lost on purpose, he's still doing this. Is he toying with me? Narrator, that's all for today. Let me know what you think of the story. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe. Don't forget to recommend other captivating stories to me. Thank you for watching.